There once lived a girl, white hair, dark, beautiful eyes filled with anger. Her name was Evelyn. Everyone knew her that way. The beauty was a half-breed, of course, which meant that the heroine was shunned throughout the empire, even in her own city, which was located on the outskirts of the country. In addition, the woman suffered from an incurable disease that affected people of mixed race, and because of her poverty, she could not receive normal worthwhile treatment. She lures the boy with sweet swords and sells him to a slave trader, all in order to get the coveted medicine that should finally help her. In the future, this young man will become one of the greatest villains of all time. This story is based on the plot of The Vision of a Fallen Saint. One day, a woman turns into a minor villain from Extra, that same novel. Evelyn was prepared for a difficult life to come. After she found herself in the body of a villain, the villain's father once said that the day had finally come. He had been waiting for it. The man himself did not think that in the end everything would come to such a decision. But the truth is, he offered to adopt the baby to make her happy, truly happy. The child was scared. Yes, he wanted to change the fate of an incurable person. But it was hard to expect that she just wanted to leave this place and live peacefully. The town is a remote area, an underdeveloped area, where often only poor people without Imperial citizenship live, and where the main character lives. The day when it all started was no different from any other. The lady was hungry, so she decided to go buy bread for a few days, and on her way back she ran into a child. It happened completely by chance. It was not to be expected, because the boy was sitting on the cold ground. He did not answer when he heard the question asked about the location. A concentrated gaze slowly ran over the body, carefully studying every little detail. The dark coal-colored hair serving as a distinctive feature, and the eyes a beautiful golden color. The color was so memorable that thoughts immediately came to mind about one person who is well known. Holding out her hand, the girl suggests going with her, since the baby has nowhere to go anyway. The hand grabbed the palm, as if for salvation, securing it all directly. Then the heroine did not yet know that she extended her hand to the one who would later kill, making her suffer in agony. The Fallen Saint's View is a romance novel that was written by a lady and her little brother. They came up with the plot together, so every sentence was valuable. The girl reread it so much that the words began to fade. The main character in this book was Lucielle, a saint who was locked in a temple, forced to be like in a golden cage. She didn't like it there, but of course, there was no choice as such. The two inserted a war plot line to get the beauty out of the temple, and they also added the Holy Grail to the center of the plot to further highlight the heroine as such. The perfect picture was created. 3 men fell in love with Lucielle, considering her the third wonder of the world. The first of them being the main male character, Crown Prince Adrian Bridium. The second, of course, is an important character, always sad and secondary, Zale Lockart, and the third is the main villain of the novel, who the girl liked the most, Raven North, the son of the Demon King. A cruel, beautiful, and heartless villain who went mad with the thirst for revenge on everything in the world. That's what he was. The main reason for his madness was the villain. She appeared only in extra. When the North family started to rebel, Raven had to wander the streets, and then the girl tricked him into going to her house. She had her own plan that she wanted to carry out, and she followed it. After this, the heroine sold the boy to a slave trader. She simply did not need him anymore. Because of this, the guy was sent to the Imperial palace. He had to go through all possible problems for the next 10 years. After this time, a miracle finally happened. That was not to be expected. He managed to get out of the cursed place. At that moment, everything had already gone wrong, changing the path. Returning home, the man encountered his father, who became the Demon King. Because of the Emperor, he gets rid of his father with his own hands and becomes the very villain obsessed with revenge on the girl. Evelyn wakes up and realizes that she ended up in the body of that girl from Extra, with whom this whole chain began, looking at her hands. She cannot believe that this is true. Lights are playing inside. She is incredibly scared. Walking into the house, the blonde straightens the pack of bread that she put on the table, suggesting that he go through and feel happy. She is glad that the guy followed her without much thought. The eyes shine a little because the gaze again involuntarily focused on the boy. He is still incredibly beautiful, despite the fact that he is dirty and looks wary, not knowing what awaits him. Sitting down, the heroine exhales. He must not have been able to eat properly because he had to run. If he is full, it will weaken his vigilance, so it is worth just walking to it. Smiling, the beauty notices that the brunette will be around for quite a long time. She needs to find out how to address him, perhaps by name. Without reciprocating the smile, the man replies that his name is Raven, literally like a crow. The reaction is not the best, even for the girl. Despite the fact that he is still a child, he has such a fierce look that it becomes a little unpleasant, judging by the book. It is better not to mess with this person. Around now, the hero is poisoned by poison, and he is being pursued by traitors of the family. The hand is squeezing a piece of bread, and the eyes are slightly closed. Obviously, he is in pain. You can notice this. Even just like that, a child who has nowhere to stay and nothing to eat. All this is because the woman decided to build the plot in this way. It's sad, but there's still something you can do. Help somehow. The maiden wants to take responsibility and help Raven. After all, he deserves a little more. The heroine has nothing to offer, except perhaps bread. She smiles. There is hope that the young man ate well, even like that. Even the buns are quite tasty. A sharp, incomprehensible feeling appeared inside. It made her shrink, standing up. The lady points to the room where the bed is, in order to rest there. Almost pushing the guy inside, the blonde explains that she has some urgent business that she accidentally forgot about. It won't take much time, but she needs to wait. As soon as the door closes, the heroine falls to the floor and clutches her heart, which seems to be a symptom of theft, the disease that Evelyn has suffered from since the very beginning of the novel. CRAD is a mixed-race disease that occurs when the energy of another race becomes too strong, causing the body to lose its balance. In the original, the girl suffered from the disease, and the reason she sold Raven was because of that expensive medicine. She needed the money. Virgo tries to calm herself down. She knows a lot of what happened in the novel, and with this knowledge, she will be able to heal herself without difficulty. First, she needs to deal with the new acquaintance. The heroine has already brought him to her home, so all that remains is to feed him, well take care of him, and return him back home, which will be fundamentally different from the plot of the original. For some reason, only now did the lady realize that the room was too quiet. Running in, she froze. A brunette was sitting hunched over on the floor. It was hard for him to breathe. Touching him with her hand, she asked if the body was okay. Although she already knew the answer. The condition is more serious than it seemed. At first, it even becomes a little scary. There are also symptoms of paralysis in this condition. It will be difficult for him to even move his body. At least try. Virgo calmly puts the guy to bed, trying to make it at least a little easier for him in the dream. North goes forward, noticing a familiar person. He asks why his father is not around and where he went. The poison that Farrell used caused irreparable harm to the head of the family and his son. It will most likely be impossible to find the young master. It is as if he fell through the ground. It seems that information about the North family has leaked. Farrell was secretly meeting with the Imperial family. Now it has become clear that he sold the very crumbs that he knew for a lot of money, because he thought that it would be easier, at least for himself. The brunette doesn't understand what is being discussed. He gets scared, asking this man how he could do this, believing him to the very end, as if he was pushing him with his hand even further straight ahead. Something has changed. There are bars that are impossible to count. It is hard to believe that the guy really betrayed her and her father, considering that he was always there and tried to be as nice as possible. A scarlet magic circle captures the body. The chest lights up with a sharp pain. He wants to do something, but the boy cannot use his power because of the slave brand. He needs to get out as soon as possible. The next time there was an opportunity to get the slave seal, it would be much more terrible. It would mean one thing. The end, because with such a seal, it would not be possible to escape wandering the streets. North understood that you cannot trust anyone. I want to go further, but the poison of the traitors has already spread throughout the body. It is impossible to stay in the body. It is difficult. At the moment of what happened, a warm voice was heard. A white-haired girl, about Raven's age, holds out her hand, asking if he wants to go with her, the promise still burning deep inside. But for some reason he wanted to do something different. Jumping up, the young man understands that this is a dream. What a true relief. At the same time, the blonde woke up, who seemed to notice that the young man had now also stood up. She asked if everything was okay. The girl was scared because her friend suddenly lost consciousness. It happened too suddenly. He had a high fever, but fortunately the temperature dropped significantly. It seems he is fine, but his facial expression shows contempt. If a guy frowns, people might misunderstand and think that he is still sick, but he has such a beautiful face that he needs to smile more often. He frowns even more. He did not like the strange statements drawn out by nonsense. The blonde herself does not see any problem in what was said. It seems to her that everything is fine. It is better to smile more often when people talk. From the very beginning, I had to pay attention to the unique and beautiful color of the eyes. Up close, they are even better, laughing easily. The girl notes that she has not communicated with people her age for a long time. She would like the young man to behave a little more gently. It might be difficult for him, but it's worth it. He can't immediately refuse, without any good reason. Since the couple will be seeing each other for some time, she will call North simply Ray, and he will shorten her name to Belle. Turning away, the brunette mutters something, offering to do as she knows. Since this conversation is over, it would be good to rest a little more. Most likely the boy has not yet fully recovered while he is left alone. The lady will go to finish some work around the house. Raven nodded, and the girl disappeared behind the door, carefully exhaling. It seemed she had managed to make the guest relax his vigilance. Everything else would work out over time when they would live under the same roof. There is no need to put things off. You need to write down everything that was in the book. Evelyn will have problems if she suddenly cannot remember what she really needs. She wants everything to be as normal as possible. In addition, she will look suspicious if she cannot answer questions regarding her own identity. The title villain before the author inhabited her body life from the beginning appears on the sheet. Ray's condition will improve significantly in a few days. After all, if you don't take care of Norte, then he will go back, and only in this way will you be able to cure that very disease. When the war starts in the Empire, you will have to go to the kingdom of El Casa or Aigar. These places where the main character wants to be are considered the safest, and the country will not attack them, leaving them out of all the action. The main goal at the moment remains the same: to earn as much money as possible. The only person who cared for Evelyn was her grandmother, who unfortunately passed away. The woman left some means of subsistence so that the girl would not need food or shelter, but gradually they began to run out. Many thoughts were spinning in her head. There is one way, thanks to which it will be possible to complete 2 tasks at once. There is a weed growing on the edge of the forest of shadows that is shrouded in chaos energy. It is called Bard. By eating the sprout, Evelyn will be able to cure the affliction of Crad, finally starting to live a peaceful life. Initially, the novel had a recipe written down, which was good because it made it a little easier to figure out, and then the treatment would go in full swing. When using weed regularly, at some point, the so-called effect begins to appear, which causes vomiting of blood and loss of voice. After this, you will definitely need to stop using Bard so as not to make things worse for yourself. You need to complete the treatment by drinking some holy water of the highest quality. That plant is a fairly common herb in the region, but the girl unfortunately simply doesn't have the money to buy it. She understands that she needs to come up with some other plan, and that's exactly what she's been doing lately. But there is something that makes your soul feel a little better. There is a lot of barda growing in the town, so it is quite possible to find the necessary herb yourself. Using her knowledge of the novel's plot, the girl understands that she has a good chance of getting what she wants. The next morning has come. The lady checks if anyone is home. This place is home to the only low-level potion maker in town, so the lady will get a job and earn money to get the desired bard. A smile appeared on her face by itself, because the beauty understands that her plan is truly ideal. She already knows how it will all end, but no one opens the door for her yet, so she knocks on the door twice. Abruptly going outside, a man with disheveled hair angrily screams. Someone dared to disturb him, thereby waking him from sleep. Now it is clear that everything is not as simple as it seemed. The man is not very friendly. You could even say that everything is the opposite. His name is Jade. He is the only potion maker in the town. On the outskirts, there are no others here. For Evelyn, who has neither money nor work, it is simply an ideal option to work with him. Bowing her head, the beauty politely greets the teacher. The blonde asks if the man needs an assistant, who will always be there. The guy refuses too abruptly. Abruptly trying to close the door, his hand stops him. The girl suggests, taking only 3 gold, promising that she can do a lot. Evelyn would not like to humiliate herself, but she cannot. Having come such a long way, return home empty-handed. She knows one recipe for a potion that no one else knows about. Jade thought, frowning slightly. This was exactly the reaction the girl was looking for. If someone developed their own recipe, they could immediately be recognized as a middle-class manufacturer. The beauty hears how they still ask her to tell what needs to be done and what this spell does. Thanks to this, it will be possible to dye your hair in rainbow colors. I want to smile again, because the young man obviously lost the power of speech due to the fact that the girl remembers. The plot remembers perfectly well that it is popular now. Instead, the old man starts screaming. The child had no way of knowing the potion of the level of polymorph magic. The blonde came up with this spell herself. In her opinion, there is nothing complicated about it. Instead of listening, the man immediately closes the door, shouting that there is no work for the girl. The sad expression on his face is a real confirmation that everything ended faster than expected. It was not thought that everything would turn out this way. No matter what, you need to look for a way out. Even though Evelyn failed to get the job and get the bard, there are many useful herbs in this place. Besides that, it would be possible to pick up something for yourself. Carefully walking around the hut, the heroine looks at the boxes stacked in the backyard. The boxes contain herbs from unsuccessful experiments. Nothing will happen if she takes a little. She will make a potion, sell it, thereby earning money. It was time to go back before the girl left. She warned Raven that if someone knocked on the door, it was forbidden to open it. It was better to pretend that no one was home. It would be more logical to let the guests in, but not all of them. The woman asks if a friend knows about the altar of Ataz. In that place, a slave mark was engraved on it. One of the merchants constantly comes to Belle to catch her. Having learned about the guest, he will do something. The girl insistently asked to listen to her words. Nothing would happen. If she did exactly that, several hours passed. North wondered why the mistress of the house had not returned. There were too many thoughts in her head about where the heroine had gone. She needed to say where she was going. She hadn't thought at all about the person who remained waiting. It's sad to realize that the boy had to sit like a dog and not leave just for the sake of a suspicious person whom he only recently met, all because she constantly says all sorts of nonsense. Somehow, Belle let her guard down. A wave of darkness suddenly pierced her body again, the same pain from which the organs were ready to twist, shrinking in half. Finally, the beauty returned. They asked her from the doorway, where she had been leaving a basket of herbs and a knife on the table. The heroine explains that the wounds all over the guy's body need to be healed. Her face flushes slightly as the realization comes to her that this stranger was taking his clothes off while he was unconscious. The blonde knows what she was thinking about, but it wasn't like that at all. Evelyn heard North hiss in pain, so she looked at him more closely. Then she noticed that the man never leaned back. His back must have been injured. The brunette lowers his head, trying not to show his emotions. He thought that the woman was simply naive and kind, more of a simple person, but it turned out that she was also quite observant. Forcing him to come out of the trance, the girl asks him to sit down and take off his clothes again. An awkward moment, but Belle assures him that she is not the least bit interested in the boy's childish body, a little more, and she will stop with the treatment he needs to hurry. At first, the boy continued to refuse, but still lifted his shirt as the heroine thought his back was in a terrible state. Despite the fact that his back was in such a state, he managed to endure all this pain. Probably this wound was received after being sold to a slave trader. It must be really terrible. The beauty promises that she is almost finished. At that very moment, something terrible happened. All the glass from the windows suddenly flew out onto the ground. Ray asks if the lady is okay. She kind of nods but doesn't give a precise answer, so he has to almost pull out word by word. He still hasn't managed to get over the shock. There is a stone lying on the floor, which was obviously used to break the window. The brunette thinks, trying to quickly build a logical chain. These are probably traders who came for him. If not, then maybe it is a slave trader. This option is also normal. Ray grabs the knife that the girl brought with her to cut the grass he was about to leave, but the heroine asked him not to. She would figure it out on her own. There are two children outside who are screaming, calling the blonde a monster. It is not difficult to recall Evelyn's memories of these children, because they always laughed at her, mocking her in every possible way. Sarah and Jack reach the enemy's house, but now for some reason they are afraid to come closer, not considering it real. The guys shout that this is wrong. They are trying to hide their true feelings, but it is so. The young man does not understand why Belle does this, because they were told that those who end up near the girl will be cursed. It is better not to risk their own health. It's true. The rumors started almost immediately, leaving no chance. The problem is the unusual hair color. Even in the city, not on the outskirts, she was rejected by all the residents. She never had a single friend to rely on. Exhaling, the blonde tries to react calmly to the situation. She doesn't need unnecessary problems, no matter what they are, just kids. If you scare them a little, they will run away on their own, and finally no one will bother her. Bending down, the girl picks up something from the ground, carefully examining this thing. Perhaps they want to be able to see the real curse without doing anything. The beauty just laughs a little ominously. Jack and Sarah immediately jump up, screaming in horror. They do not understand why the woman suddenly began to laugh so suspiciously. She definitely looks like a ghost, causing them to be scared. A second later, the guys ran away so as not to remain in reach. Only after a few seconds, the girl turned around and accidentally noticed Ray standing outside the window. He was probably watching everything that was happening closer, understanding what was happening. The lady smiles. She said that she would handle everything on her own. There would definitely be no problems. She was calm in the old-fashioned way, as if she was used to this kind of thing. There is one caveat in treating Crad's disease with this very herb. The patient should under no circumstances stop taking Bard until he has achieved the desired results, namely coughing up blood and losing his voice completely. The main character feels that Crad is progressing every day, so she simply has no choice. Left, she is afraid to think what will happen if she does not take care of her health. She begins to go crazy, eating this tasteless grass soup for every meal. Taste is taste. But the problem is that the weed is starting to run out. After that, the blonde went to the master for a few more days, but Jade did not agree to take her, as a student, refusing again. He was even tired of the girl's behavior. The only good thing was that he gave the order speaking through the window not to contact. If the lady continued in the same spirit, she would end up being an errand girl, not an assistant, and all trust would be lost in her. It seems that there is no choice but to go into the forest and tear Bard apart herself. Evelyn mentally prepares herself, realizing that if it is not her, it will be worse. Sadness still takes hold, albeit gradually. The beauty looks out the window, sighing she is not sure that she can go into the poisonous forest with such a body distracted. The girl notices Sarah and Jack standing in the bushes, who realize that the woman was thinking, if she does not notice, she can throw some stone. The brunette swings her arms, screaming for the witch to get out of this city. She is suddenly grabbed by the hand. Of course, it is Raven. She desperately screams, asking to let go. But without losing her temper, she declares that he is only interfering with the plans. A menacing look that no one had ever seen before measured the pair to hint that they were obliged to listen. The young man would turn a blind eye to it once, but if there was any more noise, they would be killed, that would be all. Grabbing her brother's hand, the sister clicks her tongue, showing her sincere displeasure, and turns around to leave the blonde, leaning out of the window. Smiles Ray managed on his own. The guys are quite annoying. Not everyone can stand it. The look is still angry but directed at the new acquaintance. She looked very smart, at least at their first meeting. It's strange that in the end, she decided to let things slide. It would be better to kill those who constantly disturb the order and peace. Such an expression should be expected from a future villain. But the girl still froze in horror, worrying about everything now is just a waste of time. The future can still change. She needs to quickly restore her health so that she can then focus on helping Ray. For some reason, the lady keeps looking at the forest. It is unclear whether there is any sense or logic in this. It is hard to believe that she did not notice how the children came from the bushes. You need to trust the people of their city, less so as not to get caught. The heroine put two and two together and finally understood what the young man was getting at. When he said something like that, he even thought that way about her. It seemed he had a feeling that he would be abandoned in the forest and treated just as terribly as before. Shaking his head, the boy turns away. In any case, the lady will not succeed because he is not going to obediently follow her. He does not need it at all. Most often, people behave unreasonably. Deciding to reveal her secret, to gently show that everything will be fine, Evelyn assures that she did not want to leave the boy alone. Raven did not understand that the reason was that the girl was looking for the barred herb. The main character boils this herb before every meal. Despite the fact that she looks ordinary, it is important to her. The beauty does not like the taste. She eats it for a completely different reason, even if she needs it. Unfortunately, there is not enough money. It seems that it is also difficult to find a job. The beauty thought about going into the forest and pulling out the weed herself. It would be faster. There was no need to act offended or make a worried expression on her face. Waving it off, the brunette pretends that he did nothing. Sometimes, North's thoughts go in a strange direction. The boy still doesn't like that he is treated like a child. He would like to be treated equally, but this will not happen yet. In a town on a cliff, a little further from the heroine's hut, Sarah and Jack are talking. The girl is angry that the dark-haired young man interfered. The witch is also somehow strange. It seems as if she has changed. Somehow she has a completely different atmosphere. The blonde pretends to be kind in front of the boy she lured to her. It seems there is some kind of sympathy between them, or something like that. It's hard to say. The couple is terrible. This won't be left like this. In the North family, in the estate, something terrible is happening. Many subjects have also been poisoned. The old man asks if the young master has been found. Luke, the commander of the North family, answers with a simple no. At least, he was not taken to the Imperial palace. Schwan chuckles. It seems that the royal couple is also looking for the boy. This is quite logical, although on the one hand, it will be even more difficult to protect him this way. The brunette nods. He understands that this is true, since he himself heard the emperor's decree. Despite the fact that all the villages on the outskirts of the empire are being searched, it takes too much time. Perhaps nothing can be changed here. Raven couldn't die. Reality was incomparable. Traces of magical power were cut off. It seemed like the magical power was sealed so that it wouldn't leave any traces, thus preventing the heir of the lineage from being tracked down. If only he could weed out the remaining spies and traitors in the family. Luke would definitely try to bring his master back and make him truly happy. The conversation turns to the head of the family, or rather to his already fragile health. He is still in bed. The doctor cannot understand what kind of poison the attacker used. It seems that this is very similar to the situation that once happened to the previous owner of the land. He was apparently poisoned at the Imperial family's banquet. It's hard to believe that the rulers are involved again. It seemed that the new king would not go to such extreme measures, but they are more cruel than they thought, and will do anything for their victory and comfort. In the emperor's main hall, the blonde man looks menacingly at his assistant. He wants to say that they still haven't managed to find one child. Bowing his head, the hero sincerely apologizes, hoping that nothing will be done to him. Of course, Argos Bridium did not want to listen. He never wanted to make the servants not fear him. He raises his hand with a sword, taking the life of the young man. The mercenaries respond that they were unable to contact the envoys of the North family, but they are on their side now. They are useless. They will have to be disposed of. His Majesty knows that no matter what, that boy must be found before the family gets their hands on him, hoping to take him back. If they can't find him by magic, only by blood, he must be in the castle. Jade keeps his own diary, which he started quite a while ago. He records the first day he asked to process the Garcinia pollen, and this cheeky kid somehow managed to do it all. Then the beauty went to the place where the man keeps the remains of herbs. It seems she is sure that this place is a garbage dump today. She poured the juice from the pepper fruits into some old jar, thought that it was valuable, and took it. The beauty did not want to give up. So the next day she showed up early in the morning. She excitedly told that the fruits of Istra and Gomorrah have hemostatic properties. The girl made a remedy that turned out to be more effective than what was before. The baby should at least bring some silver coins. The girl understands that the relationship is going well. Jade has gradually begun to meet her halfway. And in addition, a lot of useful herbs have accumulated on the waste. And this time she even got some money. In the morning, the teacher gave her a few coins, asking her to go to the city, buy 2 books on botany, and with the remaining money, buy whatever she wants. He seems cynical, but in fact, he is a good person. Everything is fine. Only the young man does not accept the heroine as an assistant with the remaining money. She bought Raven a book in the hope that he would like it. He must be glad that he received a gift for the first time in his life. A woman was walking down the street when she heard someone talking about her. It seems like it's time for her to take painkillers. Most likely she's running out of money. She won't be able to cope with an incurable disease without the means to fight it. Peeking out from behind the corner, she had successfully managed to hide behind. The beauty double-checks how things are going. It looks like she's facing slave traders, and they're discussing her. In the city where Evelyn lived, the inhabitants avoided the heroine because of her half-elf appearance. However, ironically, because of her unusual appearance, such people pursued the beauty because the more unique the appearance of a slave, the more valuable he is. Usually, the characters came up with new options on how to achieve the desired result. But alas, it was all completely different in the last few days. They calmed down. Apparently, they became active again. It is worth being more careful and moving around the city with caution. Stopping not too far from the corner of the house, the two begin to laugh. The girl will have no choice but to obey them. They will go back for now to do other important things, but so they will return next week. The girl became a little scared. She does not understand how to react to this. In the book, Evelyn was not so easy to break. She tried to the last to survive, even sold Ray to slave traders instead of herself, thinking that it would be easier. Now the situation has changed. You will have to think about what to do next or how to act. You should not be afraid. In any case, there is time left until about next week. The girl will not allow what was in the book to happen in reality. The heroine definitely promises that she will be cured with the help of Bard and take care of Raven. But first, she needs to run as far as possible. Turning around, the lady accidentally collides head-on with someone moving back a little. Falling to the ground, she tries to come to her senses when she hears a furious but very familiar voice. Sarah asks what the blonde is doing. She wonders if her friend is hurt, but immediately after that, she declares her urgent business. As the lady left the scene, she felt the gazes directed at her back. The heroine cannot waste time when the merchants are on her tail. It will be difficult to take the bard from Jade. Now in any case, the maiden is still forced to go to the forest to get everything that is needed for the final stage of treatment. You need to move forward and not be afraid. She decided long ago that she wants to live, which means everything should be fine. The situation will not end badly. This is another promise. Walking forward, along the path in the forest, the blonde looks at the trees with her eyes. There should be a sign somewhere here, and here it is, standing at the fork. Evelyn is smug. They will still see what will happen to her. Kneeling down, the beauty takes out a shovel from her bag, perhaps because the lady was helping Jade, but she managed to find some useful weeds that it turns out can be safely used. The air in this place is more bearable than Belle imagined. Everything will get better when the effect of that very plant begins somehow. Strangely in the hands is a sprout that should grow in other places. It is even written about in the books. The woman followed the sign exactly which showed where to turn. She did not suspect that Jack, at the request of his sister, changed and repainted the sign. They never liked the girl. And this was another mockery. Sarah is more serious than her brother. Their meeting today comes up in her memories. The witch was holding a book in her hands. For some reason, there is a certainty that she did it on purpose, to boast that supposedly the guys cannot learn to read, even if they want to. And she, like all people, in an hour, they will tell the adults in the city that the girl herself went into the dangerous part of the forest, deciding that it would be better for her. Let her sit there for a while all alone with her book. She should be happy after that. The two got ready to leave. There is no point in staying any longer. Near the path, they were met by the same brunette they saw near the estate. He asks what Evelyn did to them that now deserves such treatment. Sarah recoils. They only complicated the path into the forest. Since the beauty went into the sleeping fog, she is probably already asleep, quietly pronouncing the name. North does not understand why their cruelty goes beyond all limits. This is too much. Giving the two an even more stern look, the young man orders them to stand there and wait. If they are not there when he returns, then they will definitely be in trouble. Jack began to shake. He already understood that they were in trouble. They would have to wait. The boy runs as fast as he can, tearing himself away from the spot. He can't stop thinking. Too many thoughts make him worry he needs to save his friend, because although everyone knows that place as a sleeping fog in narrow circles, it has a special name. During the day, the fog is quite harmless. It just falls on the forest, making you lose yourself in space. But at night, things are different. Even knights have a hard time dealing with the darkness, because this fog is emitted by the carnivorous plant, botes, which is worse than some monsters. The sun was about to set, half an hour left, and everything would begin. The boy tried to avoid this method as much as possible. His father told him that Raven should never use family magic, even if he learned it early. The kid never understood the meaning of words. He really wanted to become that magician, as strong as a man, even when he was very little. He asked many questions, trying to understand what the meaning was. North still told the secret, realizing that it would be easier for the child to live without powers when he understood what was what. All because the magic was so strong that it shortened the life of the one who used it, leaving 10-20 years in reserve, which pass in the throes of pain. As an example, the head of the family cited their ancestor, Apostle Jin Yun. He was a man from another world who was good at magic attack, known to all members of the family. Being a master of his power, the guy used it to the fullest. There was blood on his hands. The one who studies forbidden tactics will gain the power to take over the world, and in the end, he will be consumed by magic. Do not forget, the more often the boy uses his powers, the faster he will become a demon. The memory pops up in his head again. The blood is getting more and more. Of course, this is a stupid decision, but there is no other way out. This is the only way to save Evelyn Raven. Hurried to the beauty, who with wide eyes asks why he came. The scream indicates what is behind turning around. The beauty is frightened because that same plant has already opened its mouth in order to eat the body. The girl feels her heart sink into her heels. This is the end of her life. The sound of rain is heard. There is darkness all around. One might think that the soul has long since departed for another world. But no, the eyes sting from how slowly the girl tries to open them. Evelyn does not remember how she fell asleep. Everything happened very quickly. She couldn't understand what would happen and where to go. It seemed like something behind was trying to attack. And then North acted like a true defender, rushing to help and saving his friend's life. A voice is heard asking to look into the eyes, since the girl has come to her senses. Yes, it is true that the young man saved her with his storyline. It is hard to believe the blonde smiles easily, her pupils sparkling full of happiness. The woman gently places her hand on the guy's cheek. At least there's some positive in this whole situation. He finally called her by name. They hadn't communicated very well. Before you could say they had almost no contact. It is impossible to talk about it in such a situation. The girl wants to laugh, but then a sound is heard. A brightly colored magic mark opened above the monster's body. All the monsters evaporated. There was more than one. Obviously, such is Raven's power. It was necessary to understand what was what from the very beginning. The brunette looks around carefully. He does not regret anything, but understands that now it will not be so easy. Since the power was used, a magical trace will remain in the forest. Ray planned to stay in this place until they deal with all the spies who infiltrated the North family. Looking at the excited beauty, the young man waves it off. Everything is fine. The most important thing is that the beauty remains completely fine, in which case, things will only get better. Now that they've returned to the house, where the mage has brought the children they've been in contact with, putting them both on their knees, Raven suggests they start if they have any excuse. Jack starts first, but says something completely different from what the hero expected to hear. He does not consider himself the one who did something wrong. Turning to his girlfriend, the man menacingly asks if he can just end it all. He has no more strength to listen to all this. The witch does not think it is right to kill, but she is not going to let her get away with the fact that she almost died frowning. Now she asks if the two really do not understand their guilt. Sarah jumps up. The girl fell asleep for a short time, was not even hurt, and now she behaves as if everything ended terribly. Evelyn is already beautiful, can read, can leave, and earn enough money. It would not be very unfair if she just spent the night in the forest. The brunette assures that she did nothing wrong. She just wanted to teach him a lesson because she is jealous. Lowering her voice, the witch says that if it weren't for her guest, she would have died in that place. Monsters live in the forest that emit a sleeping fog. If Raven came later, the lady would have fallen asleep, offering herself as food for the plants. Of course, the guys didn't know about such details, but after the story, they can't continue to insist that they are not guilty. Sarah's face changed. It's a lie. She didn't know anything. She just wanted to tease a little the one she hates. Jack lowers his head and, trying not to cry, apologizes. He never wished death on the girl. Always, just something simple. Judging by the reaction, they are not lying, although the situation still makes him feel strange. Exhaling, the blonde nods. It's good that they now understand that they were wrong. But if something like this happens again, she won't sit idly by. Her punishment will be terrible. It's better not to check. After the conversation, the guys are released. They leave, trying not to stick their noses out, because they understand that they shouldn't do something like that. The blonde almost falls. Her head suddenly starts spinning. But fortunately, Ray managed to catch her all because she relaxed. To tell the truth, she was very scared. The boy gently strokes his hair, calming down. Nothing terrible will happen. Now she is safe. There are still too many thoughts in her head. The heroine made a promise that she would take care of North, but all she does is receive help, continuing to take advantage of it. Sharply hugging her friend, the girl sincerely thanks him for coming to the rescue. No one has ever tried to protect her wherever she went. There was always and everywhere, only one hatred. Unfortunately, nothing changed. It's evening time to go to bed, so the heroine lies in bed, resting peacefully. What happened completely knocked her off track, forcing her to think about what will happen next. Since Raven used magic power, there are definitely traces of him in the forest, which stretch like a trail and do not go unnoticed by other magicians. Since he is being hunted by pursuers, they need to be erased as quickly as possible. The boy used magic to save the girl. She can't just sit back and watch what's happening. She also wants to repay with kindness. She just has a method that suits her. This is the best one to use. The next day, the lady splashed in the water, calling her friend to her. Deep down, she hoped that he would agree to come in. Thus the influence would stop. Even he himself needed this. Everything was quite logical. A little earlier, the beauty went into the forest. For now she was alone. Traces of magic as such cannot be erased. Nothing will be cleaned up, but we need to buy time until Ray recovers and returns to North. Then something can be discussed. The method is original. The heroine herself came up with it with the help of this potion. You can summon demons to the place where magical traces remained to convince them that the boy used magic but was eventually killed by monsters in the forest. Even if it is not considered an ideal move, despite the fact that they take the little child seriously, it can work and fool them. For some time in the morning, the girl told a friend that she was going for a walk. He was not happy. The brunette remembers what happened the day before, so he asks the heroine to lead him. She won't go there herself. She couldn't even think that Raven would express a desire. It was too much, but she had no right to refuse. The girl wanted to go quietly and calmly alone to go through her plan and come back. If she used the potion in front of Ray, it would most likely be very suspicious and undermine his shaky trust that was just beginning to develop. Looking at her partner, the blonde sighs. She doesn't understand if she can be careful enough so that the boy doesn't suspect anything. In any case, until you try, you won't know. The girl reassures herself with these very words. Heading to the stream, the blonde lifts the hem of her dress, carefully wringing it out. Water gets everywhere, smiling. She calls the brunette to her, assuring him that nothing will happen. He just raises an eyebrow, not quite understanding this outburst of emotions. The young man looks at the basket full of clothes, standing on the shore. The woman said that she was going to wash the clothes. That's what she should do. There won't be any problems with that. She needs to return as soon as possible. Of course, the beauty is going to do what she planned. She nods, trying to calm the suspicions. It was hard to get up, so taking a rest would be right. This is not suitable for Raven. They are not children. Physical training should be enough. The boy expresses himself this way, but in fact, they are still really little. Of course, it is impossible to say this out loud. Thanks to the game, the girl will be able to finish everything faster than she needs, making a cute expression on her face, captivating the consciousness. The girl asks to come in and play. It is not difficult. The words pierce the very heart, forcing the young man to change his mind. He initially knew that he would give up quickly enough. The brunette carefully steps into the water, raising his leg sharply. The heroine gets scared, asking if someone bit him on the leg. The boy waves it off. He's fine. It's just that the water is too cold. It makes him shrink a little. The beauty laughs easily. Her mind paints a cute picture of a person who looks more like a kitten. Now in this context, it's almost true. Deciding that they can play a typical game, the girl puts her hands in the water, raising splashes directed at the man. They laugh because obviously the lady also wants to get it. She asked for it, so she was also doused from head to toe. Half an hour later, the two sat down on a large rock next to the stream. Ray looked pleased. Because of this, the girl missed her opportunity. The plan failed. Then you might think that there was no point in going to this place. Exhaling, the beauty does not want to think about what is what and what happened. The most important thing is that a drop of happiness has appeared in the guy's life. He really deserves all the best, noticing that the hair is shiny. The heroine makes a compliment. Obviously, because of the water, they became a little darker. The boy doesn't understand why this was said. They are not that beautiful. The woman could have accepted this answer, but she noticed how his face blushed a little. This is a sincere compliment, so there is no need to be so embarrassed. Deciding to make a return move, the young man notices that the witch's hair also shines even very beautifully. It is somewhat reminiscent of snow sparkling in the sun on a cold winter morning. The beauty thanks her, but then after a while she says something very strange. Maybe she should cut off her braids and sell them. The hero with wide eyes asks what the point is. On the contrary, you need to be more careful and take care of your hair. Not seeing the problem, the woman explains that her hair will grow back anyway. She just thought that she could earn some money by selling what she has. It's the only thing that's truly unique. It seems like it could really help in life. In her head, the girl made a shopping plan, dividing the skin of an unkilled bear. If there is more money, she will be able to buy clothes for her friend. He will surely be happy. Distracting from thoughts, the boy carefully asks about the witch's house. North has a lot of money on his lands. It will be enough even for a not new acquaintance, so there is no need to worry about it. Lowering his head on his palms, he shakes his head, apologizing for saying the wrong thing. Evelyn seems not to hear, thinking about what would suit the young man. Anything will look beautiful on his face. Since the heroine did not hear the words, she does not understand why her face suddenly turned so red. The first normal reason comes to mind. Because of being in the water for a long time, he simply got sick. That's how it all ended. He should have left a little earlier. In any case, the sun will set soon, so she will have to use this before it is too late. Her eyes carefully look at the basket that has been on the shore all this time. With acting skills inside her heart, the girl will succeed. She is sure of it. The beauty opens the basket, exclaiming that she took the potion with her by mistake. Just a few jars. The man raises an eyebrow for him. It all seems unreal. Something is wrong here. Completely wrong and incorrect? On one of the sheets there are 3 closed jars of different shades of green, with signed names. It seems that the lady forgot to put out what was in her pocket, and without knowing it, brought it with her in her hands. There is an ampule with the inscription, "For summoning omnivorous plant monsters from the forest." The blonde wants to lift the basket, to then put the laundry on the ground, and throw it into the water, pretending that it is incredibly heavy for her. She drops all the contents right into the water, while loudly gasping. She is a good actress for a second. It seems that she managed to complete the plan, doing everything right. Turning around, she meets the brunette's eyes, in which feelings splash that she had not seen before. It seemed that he guessed, but no grabbing her friend by the hand. North asks her to get out of the water. This could be more dangerous than it seems. The game was perfect. You want to jump for joy, but the second act is not over yet. You have to go to the end. The Duke quietly asks why the blonde carries such a dangerous potion with her. It seems the maiden was in such a hurry to take her things that she herself did not notice how she took all the most terrible things. It's a pity about the clothes, but it would be better to leave so as not to get caught. Life is much more precious. Everything in the basket is slowly sinking to the bottom. Now it will be lost forever. The young man agrees that it is not worth jumping into the stream. The clothes that floated away were the ones that Rhea had on the day they met and defended each other. The young man's blood was there. The woman specially selected what was supposed to make her plan work. Now she needs to leave, and she can finally relax. The failures are behind her. The brunette drags her friend along with her. She turns around for the last time to look at the pond. She realized that if everything goes on like this, it will confuse the members of the Imperial family who are looking for Ray. They will not succeed. They will only regret that everything is over. There is complete silence in His Majesty's castle for some time, but it all ends because a messenger arrives in the throne room. He reports that traces of the young man have finally been found. After a while, everything worked out. The ruler can be pleased. The blonde can't stand it and forces him to quickly tell what happened. The servant bows his head and obediently begins with the fact that the magical trace was in one of the cities on the cliff in the forest nearby. Among the demonic beasts, clothes with blood were found. It points to a massacre. Of course, guessing is not the best option, but still judging by the circumstances, it is very likely that he died. After the monsters attack the king, looks out the window. Carefully, he does not know what to answer. All that remains is to agree with what happened. Assuming that it is true, they did not find any clues. The next morning came. The girl was drying the dishes. She stole a glance at Ray, momentarily distracted. She didn't know how long they could be together. She wished the boy would stay close, longer being safe. Several months have passed since the young man settled in the hut. Time immediately moves forward, leaving no chance to come to his senses. The search team of the North family will soon arrive in the city. This was exactly what was in the plot. The girl exhales. It is hard for her to believe that everything will end, forcing her to be sad and lonely. Again, she knew that the moment would come when they would have to part. But she is very sad because she feels that they do not have much time left. It seems that the attachment has developed much stronger than expected. I would like to choose a gift before leaving. It must be special and means something secret. Raven will like anything. The main thing is that it was given from a pure soul and a sincere heart. A cry is heard. A voice familiar to the point of goosebumps, which orders to open the door. The brunette looks at the door to understand what is wrong. He noticed that the expression on his friend's face changed, so he realized that everything ended quite quickly. She had some problems. The slave traders from Atos finally got to the girl. She remembers the conversation she overheard while standing around the corner of the house. They were going to visit the little girl to offer her some very favorable conditions. The blonde jumps up and quietly runs with her friend, carefully placing her hand on his shoulder so that he understands that everything will be fine. Ray needs to go to his room for now, but sit as quietly as possible so that they don't hear the presence of someone else. The man also frowns. He won't go so easily. First asks why all this is necessary. Smiling nervously, Evelyn hints at an uninvited guest who came of his own free will. The Virgin does not want anyone to see the Duke. At this moment, another scream is heard behind the door. The traders know that the girl is inside, but for some reason she decided not to open. Now the young man understands why his friend is so against him. Staying in the kitchen, he needs to hide. Exhaling, the brunette nevertheless agrees, so as not to be even more mischievous. Everything is going like clockwork. Evelyn hid north, and now all that's left is to deal with the annoying guests abruptly opening the door to the street. She screams, asking why they are banging, like this is not someone else's house, but their own. The heroine accidentally pressed the handle too hard, so she hit the brunette on the nose with all her might, causing the guy to fall to the ground. He grabbed his nose with his hands, which seemed to have suffered the most, and even turned red. In her hands is a bottle of transparent liquid with a slightly blue tint. The girl needs to remember who she is talking to. If not the traders, she will not have her precious painkiller, without which the pain will surely take the baby to the next world, leaving no chance. The woman frowns. She says nothing more. The man knows that he is right. This is the only analgesic that reduces problems with such a rare disease as CRAD. He knows this, so he tries to manipulate in every possible way. This is a very expensive medicine that you can't get even by selling your house. It is also known that the liquid is very dangerous because if you are careless, it causes addiction, which is quite difficult to overcome. One might even say that it is unrealistic. In the novel, Evelyn had no other choice but to use the drug, which became more and more addictive. Thus, without realizing it, the lady chose another path to death. Only without the disease. There are still other people who must be punished for everything the beauty said last time, that she could not afford to buy what was offered to her. Now that the author has moved into this body, everything will be different. The man smiles crookedly. He can lend money, and it will probably not be possible to buy a drink at such an unforgivably low price anywhere. The heroine, making excuses, asks to forget. She will do everything herself. If there is a production kit, she will buy it. Making a potion is not fun. You could say that the child does not understand what persistently holding out her hand. The girl continues to ask to sell. The merchant cannot refuse, so he rummages in the bag. He promises that the blonde will regret it. A loud sound was heard from above, as if something had fallen. The heart sank. The lady did not know if something had happened to Raven. He was probably not okay. The brunette also became wary, asking what was going on there, because it seemed the witch lived alone. Something must have fallen because of the wind. In any case, it doesn't mean much. Pushing the man out the door, the girl asks him not to come to her with the same proposals. Now she doesn't need it, but if Evelyn changes her mind, she will always be expected at the address. As soon as the conversation ended, the beauty quickly ran upstairs. She opens the door, noticing that Ray is lying on the floor, unconscious, sitting down next to him. She worriedly asks if everything is okay. Although in her soul, she understands that this is not the case at all. There is no answer, but a bright circle of dark scarlet magic shines on the body. It's not just something that glows so brightly, but a slave mark that the main character earned by accident when he was running away. Sometimes when catching an ordinary slave, who is difficult to control, they put a brand on the altar. Before they put the slave seal on, they do some interesting work. The slaves were tied up beforehand so that they could not escape before the deal began, already knowing what awaited them. In the future, it is said that people with this mark have seizures when a slave trader with the same mark is nearby. In this case, the man behind the door had a very strong influence. Of course, the blonde understood that the young man had run away from the traders. It was logical, but she couldn't even imagine that he had been branded. She was scared. Her eyes showed more horror than disappointment. But the guy saw it in a completely different way. Ray screams for the girl not to look with the last of his strength. He grabs the edges of his shirt to wrap his chest. He is not a slave. This is all not true. The brunette realized that the man who almost knocked down the door definitely belonged to the camp. There were already slave traders here. There was no point in them coming again. It seemed that Belle reported that there was a boy in this place. But no, this simply could not happen. At least she wanted to convince herself of this. The girl was always friendly and kind. But maybe when she finds out that the young man is being pursued by slave traders, right here, she will turn away. The blonde's reaction is a little surprising. It seems strange that she was ready to scream. In fits of anger from what happened, those abnormal people dared to put a mark. And this is in addition to the horror that they did to the back. For this, none of them will ever deserve forgiveness, at least in this life. Jumping up, the beauty asks to wait. She will definitely return soon, but will just take some important medicine with her. The boy gets up, grabbing the girl by the hand, his voice trembling when he asks in surprise if the blonde knew that he had escaped from the traders. Nodding, the heroine still stands up, even if she knew it doesn't change anything in reality, because she's not going to give her new friend to those people. They don't deserve to have such a good person. He should be happy. About a few days passed. The heroine asks how the young man is feeling, and he nods, assuring that everything seems to be fine. Ray adjusts his bandages, doing it as carefully as possible. He puts his clothes back on. Evelyn can't help but ask about the brand she was talking about on the day everything happened. Waving it off, the hero thinks that it will disappear on its own. After a certain period of time, the magician wants to know how long his friend knew his dark secret. You don't have to be a genius to understand where this conversation is heading. The young man is confused by the same merchant who came later. It was not true that man did not come for him, but for the mistress of the house. People like him often come to the house to sell painkillers or other things. Perhaps it is not worth saying that they are aimed specifically at her. It is understandable that this can make one doubt. So far, the explanations do not work as they should, but it is not worth giving up. Carefully grabbing her friend's hand, the maiden explains that if she had known that the traders would be able to find Raven by his brand on his chest, she would not have even opened the door to them, so as not to expose the one who is hiding with her. She will always hope that everything will be fine, and the boy will begin to trust her. The young man nods, his face shows that he seems to believe it. It turns out that he feels bad because he has been lying around for a whole week doing nothing. So now he plans to go do something around the house. A bit of a harsh statement, considering that he can't strain himself. But no, the magician will just warm up his body a little with work, so there is no need to worry. Before leaving the room, the brunette turns around and, looking at her with a warm gaze, thanks the girl for everything she gave him. Smiling, the beauty nods. She is always happy to help, even if it is difficult. Every time the young man took up work, it became more difficult for him. This time, his thoughts reached the point of no return. Pictures of a girl who was always friendly and always made the guy feel calm, and most importantly, good without problems in his head, constantly appeared in his head. Luke went into the forest with his assistants using bright magic to draw parallels. He finally realizes that everything worked out. The man orders to contact someone from the mansion. He finally managed to find traces of the young master. That trace definitely belongs to the dark power of the brunette. The boy ran so far, even though he was poisoned. He was probably so scared that he ended up running. While under the effect, he felt bad. And that's why he behaved like that. It's okay. Very soon, people from the North family will come to save Raven. Morning came. The blonde barely opened her eyes. Although today, everything is relatively good. She hasn't slept so well for a long time. She wants to smile because she finally has enough strength. The girl goes down the stairs to the kitchen, where she sees her friend. He's probably hungry. It's time for breakfast. The first thing my eyes focused on was the dirty dishes, the table, and even the pots. Something had happened. It seemed that everything was not so bad, because on the table, there was a beautifully packed box, and a second one more, like a bag. There was probably food inside. Noticing Belle, the guy freezes slightly, clearing his throat. What is on the table is his doing. There was no one else here, while the man thinks about the answer slightly. Stumbling, the blonde laughs easily. The magician looks pretty cute, considering that he is wearing a small apron. Today is a good day. The boy hoped that the girl would agree to go with him to eat outside. Unexpectedly, but he did quite well. The sandwiches taste divine. The ingredients go well together, and because of this, they just melt in your mouth. This is more unexpected. The young man asks again, "What is wrong?" In fact, the girl simply did not think that such a person could cook, considering that when she went into the kitchen, there was a complete mess. The heroine does not mean that she does not like it. On the contrary, the taste is probably even better than the look. It's been a long time since anyone cooked, especially for the heroine. She didn't think that she would ever have a chance to do this. The brunette turns away, trying to look as calm as possible, but you can see how his cheeks have turned a little red. The hero holds out a saucepan. He made soup too. The blonde wants to smile and thank him again, but her reaction is completely different. She groans loudly, grabbing her friend's palms and asking what happened. The palms are in a terrible state. It probably all happened while preparing the dishes, recoiling. The man explains that it doesn't hurt at all. It's not even a wound, but a simple cut. It's better to be as careful as possible and not make other people worry. The girl is glad that Ray prepared this for her, but she would not like to see him suffer. It's not worth it at all. As soon as they return from the picnic, she promises that she will definitely treat the wounds. This way, the cut will heal faster. Half an hour passed. All this time, the heroes ate and talked. They really liked spending time together. When it was all over, the lady exhaled. She had eaten her fill for the first time. It was quite good for him. It was not difficult, because several times before, he had seen the woman cook. Trying not to say anything, the heroine simply nods. Of course, she will not remember that the kitchen was left in complete disarray, which is definitely not the most beautiful picture. The beauty is touched that her friend took care of her cooking for himself. He thought about what she would also like. Suddenly, a strange feeling appeared inside her chest. It was different from what was before. The main character began to cough, clutching her face with her hands, because she already understood what was coming next. A little blood remained on her palm. It seemed to have become a little easier. In the second stage of treating Crad's disease, with the help of the herb bard, a symptom begins in the form of coughing up blood. A sincere smile is displayed on the face. It seems that the soup from Bard worked as it should. At first, there were worries that everything would not go as planned. But no, it remains to sincerely rejoice and move on. In her rush of happiness, Evelyn completely forgot about Raven, who is still behind her. He anxiously asks, "What is happening?" Nodding, the girl assures that she just choked. There is no need to make North worry even more. He will not understand that blood is a sign of slow healing. Since they had eaten, both went back to the house. There were still volleys that needed to be completed. Everything seemed to be fine, but at night, Ray could not sleep. He thought that even though Belle said that nothing terrible had happened, there were still a lot of suspicions. The boy had developed a sense of smell that was impossible to fail, and he definitely smelled blood. Then when it all happened, her face turned pale, showing that something was wrong. For a moment it seemed that she would faint, but no, nothing happened. Raven is sure that her friend is hiding something. They seem to have become close since they have been living together for several months. But even so, the girl does not tell him anything. Even when asked directly, he would like the heroine to be more open and confident. Unfortunately, this is not the case yet. Every time the answer is the same: "Don't worry, I'm fine. Everything will be fine." Perhaps there are things that a woman is unable to tell because it's probably too much for her. In any case, you shouldn't jump to conclusions. You need to at least ask again, "What's going on?" and hope that she will admit it. A strange sound is heard outside the window, making the young man sigh and still get out of bed. He looks out and sees several men in front of him. One of them bows his head in greeting. His name is Luke. He is the commander of the Black Knights in the North family. There is no need to explain. The boy himself understands everything. The squad managed to deal with all the spies that had entered the house and harmed those there. The hero nods. The next thing he is interested in is the condition of the head of the family. He has not heard anything from his native land for a long time. He is not sure what is going on there at all. Rastavan still hasn't come to his senses. Unfortunately, this is true, and for this, the knight asks for forgiveness with all his might. Together with the doctor, they tried to make the man wake up, but in the end they realized that the potion was too strong. It was too early to give up. Ray realized that they had come for him. They wanted to take him back, and it was obvious that there was a reason for this. The boy couldn't be away from his family for long. He didn't know what to answer, so he remained silent, thinking about what to say and how to assure them that everything would be fine, even if they didn't return. In his opinion, it was too early to go back. Besides, it seemed that Belle was hiding something. They needed to first figure out how things were going with her and then discuss anything. Promising that he will return soon, the gentleman asks to be left alone for now. He intends to stay for a little while longer, without, of course, specifying what business he has left. The knight wants to object, deciding that he can't leave without Raven, but he sharply asks him to shut up. Now is not the time if the hero returns to the mansion. When the head of the family has not come to his senses, he can again become a target for enemies, and he would not want that. The boy promises that he will definitely come back when Rastavan wakes up. This will probably happen soon. North orders to erase all traces left by the Black Squad. The guy's existence must be completely hidden if necessary. It will be necessary to monitor and protect the city on the cliff. Bowing his head, Luke promises that they will do everything as best as possible. The last request is to protect the child with whom the boy lives. She is the savior of the magician and must remain okay. A few months after the start of treatment, the Bard effect began to gradually manifest itself. In recent days, it has become much easier to move. The effect began earlier than the beauty expected. Today is a happy day. On such an occasion, it is necessary to throw a party. Walking along one of the streets, the blonde notices those guys, who then made a mess with the sign, shouting their names. The girl attracts attention to herself. Tonight they are going to eat something tasty while spending time together. The guys probably want to go too. Sarah doesn't understand, so she just raises an eyebrow. They don't know what came over the woman that she suddenly needs to go to her house. According to the heroine, the more people, the merrier it will be. You can tell from their faces that the guys want it, but they can't decide. Yet the girl smiles. They need a little push to accept. She notes that the first thing they'll do is cook meat at home. Jack promises that they will think about it, but Sarah turns and runs away. It will seem that she refused, but the woman noticed how the baby's cheeks glowed bright red. Children behave as is right. It's time to get ready for the party. There's already meat on the grill. Different types attract attention, making you smile. The heroine hasn't eaten Korean food for a long time. In fact, she even misses it. Under the rays of the setting sun, a girl with a long snow-white braid holds out a wooden spoon to a young man insisting that he try the dish while it is hot. Her smile sparkles with warmth, but the guy is slightly confused. His gaze is full of doubt. Her sincere enthusiasm makes him slightly embarrassed. She looks at him in surprise, hearing her question about the grass that she ate earlier. His face shines with sincerity and curiosity, but more with discontent. Sparks of determination shine under his thoughtful gaze, but Raven's thoughts seem to be focused on something deep. The words about it seems did not please him at all. The girl next to him radiates casual joy, pushing him to his first experience with cooked meat. She smiles sincerely, offering him a piece, tenderly assuring that he will be delighted. Confidence and ease destroy the barriers in his soul, still slightly wary. The hero, nevertheless, takes the food, listening to her benevolent insistence. He takes his first bite, appreciating the taste. The girl next to him beams with happiness watching his reaction. Her joy overwhelms her, and she exclaims how delicious it is, urging him to give his opinion. Somewhat embarrassed, the Duke tries to concentrate, but her energy and delight are infectious. She insists that he acknowledge how wonderful it is, and the boy, slightly puzzled, quietly repeats her words, wondering what the awesome in one of the sentences means. Raven turns around with a tense look, noticing the approach of strangers. His voice sounds sharp, asking about the purpose of their visit. Jack and Sarah, who last time ran away like a coward, stop nearby. Suddenly, Evelyn, with a snow-white braid, noticing his wariness, lightly puts her hand on his shoulder and laughingly explains that it was she who invited them. Her joyful smile softens his cold expression, although bewilderment still shines through in the young man's eyes. The beauty tries to be as friendly as possible, assuring that she was waiting for them. The kids remember the words that they needed to come, because on the contrary, they asked for more people. The hero next to her only watches what is happening, crossing his arms and restrainedly assesses the situation. He does not like that such children appeared nearby. Sarah nervously explains that she couldn't come empty-handed because they were invited. It's unusual for her to say something like that. Her voice trembles slightly, and embarrassment is reflected in her eyes. She holds out a box of bread. It seems that in these little things lies the sincerity that can unite the hearts of those who have never interacted before. The lady, embarrassed even more than before, says that a few days ago, the blonde had a birthday. They remember it. She emphasizes that the gift brought is just a sign of attention, and it is up to the birthday girl to decide whether to accept it or not. The main character looks at her with surprise. Her gaze is filled with slight confusion. The words about the birthday cause an unexpected feeling of warmth in her, and a glimmer of gratitude appears in her eyes. She definitely did not expect such a reaction from them. The blonde girl ponders, observing the situation. Her thoughts plunge into darkness, where doubt arises. Did the guests really come to apologize for the past? These guesses cause slight tension, forcing her to reason about the reasons for their actions. Last time they were ashamed, but it seemed that they would do nothing. The beauty quietly admits to herself that the actions of her acquaintances deserve praise. Respect is felt in the words. With a smile on her face, Evelyn thanks him for the gift, promising to try it with pleasure. She loves delicious things. At this time, the magician repeats the words about the birthday. With surprise, his confusion causes a slight ironic remark from Jack standing next to him. a hint that he might not know. This sounds reserved. Noticing the angry look, the brunette asks for forgiveness. This is quite possible. The witch said that she would like to give something in return for the bread she brought. The chestnut-haired girl looks at her with slight distrust, but begins to feel the warmth of intentions in the shadow filled with calm. A thought sounds. They are not evil children. There is some other reason for the behavior that is manifested. The beauty reflects on the reasons why the children continue to stay close to her. Her thoughts are full of bitterness and understanding. Envy drives them. What seems natural to her is inaccessible to these children because they have no privileges. Her gaze is lowered, and in her pose, there is a mixture of fatigue and awareness of her situation. She would like to help them. Deciding that it is time for a change, the main character suggests that the guests learn to read her voice. Sounds soft but confident, as if she knows how important this skill can be for them. However, the offer causes genuine surprise. Sarah and the young man look at her with shock, almost exclaiming. Read their faces. Reflect a mixture of bewilderment and slight fear of something new and unknown. The young man, with a serious expression, speaks directly, reminding them that teaching reading to those who do not have citizenship is prohibited. It is punishable by law in the empire in which they live. His words sound like a warning, but in his eyes, there is more curiosity than condemnation. With ease and playfulness in her voice, she retorts, so what? Her confidence, accompanied by a sly smile, emphasizes her determination. She adds that nothing terrible will happen if no one finds out about it. The chestnut-haired girl, having overcome her embarrassment, enthusiastically admits that she likes the idea of learning to read. Her voice sounds sincere, and her eyes shine with determination. Her brother, who is nearby, supports her, timidly stating that he also really wants to learn. Evelyn, hearing their sincere desires, promises to teach them. Her tone is calm, but there is genuine joy in it. However, reminding them that the food will get cold, she suggests that they eat first. After that, the heroine raises the bottle with a beaming smile, calling it an indispensable thing for parties. Light laughter and confidence fill the moment with energy and fun. It seems that she is trying to defuse the situation, adding a note of carelessness. The Duke, on the contrary, looks a little tense, but tries not to show his embarrassment. He is still thinking about what his friend said. Maybe she should not do this. The magician, slightly surprised, asks if the contents of the bottle are alcohol. Evelyn quickly denies, adding that it is just juice that creates the right atmosphere. They are not at the age to drink anything stronger. The offer to drink together is accompanied by a joyful exclamation, and everyone raises their bottles, demonstrating their unity. After the guests left, the house fell silent, creating a contrast to the recent fun. The main character, sitting under the starry sky, shares her thoughts with Ray. He thinks that they were good, even without them. A smile and sparkles in her eyes indicate that she sincerely enjoyed this evening. Unlike her friend, she turns to the guy, asking if he had fun. The tone is light, filled with warmth, as if she wants to hear confirmation that the evening was a success. The man is silent, but understanding, and some thoughtfulness can be read in his gaze. The main character admits that for the first time he spends time so calmly and naturally. His thoughts are full of surprise, because before he was always forced to watch every movement around him. The girl, noticing his thoughtfulness, turns to him, and her gaze becomes questioning. She asks a quiet but serious question. Why? A boy, with sadness in his voice, shares a tragic story. Someone threatens his family, having already caused an irreparable loss. The death of his mother, his words full of pain, cause a silent reaction from the listener. The woman thinks about how unusual it is for him to hear such things, because these are secrets that are usually kept silent. At this moment, the warm touch of hands becomes a symbol of support and solidarity, as if promising that now he is not alone. There were traces of a recent dinner on the table, and silence filled the room. as if emphasizing the emptiness. The loss of a loved one and the chaos in the house must have made the young man feel worse than usual. Lowering her head, the woman assumes that it is quite difficult for the hero to be alone. Her eyes drop to the floor. The brunette cannot directly say, but it is true. A quiet dialogue flares up under the night sky. Thoughts wander in the depths of his soul. Sometimes he missed his mother, but this feeling appeared extremely rarely. He tried to drive away the melancholy. The knights hidden behind the bushes are watching the couple. One of them noted that the young gentleman always behaved boldly. The observers in the shadows did not expect that he would talk about the past and about Madame revealing the vulnerable side of his soul. Two mysterious hooded men discuss the changes in the guy they once thought was a boy. One of them admits that he is overwhelmed with emotions. He can hardly calm down, but admits that he is ready to cry again because of a touching scene that came as a surprise to them. The hero has grown too much now. Everything has changed. It will never be the same again. A man with a serious expression, slightly lowering his head, speaks words of his determination. He is entrusted with protecting someone dear to Rastavan. Despite possible difficulties, somewhere in the distance, a slight gleam of starlight flickers, emphasizing the sincerity of the words. The boy does not suspect that now he has nothing to fear. It will be easier from now on. The lesson that the heroine promised to give to the children begins. The young girl with silver hair smiled softly. Ending the lesson, she reminded everyone not to forget to review the material so that it would be easier next time. Two listeners looking at each other uncertainly seemed confused, especially when one of them, raising an eyebrow, quietly said about his uncertainty, "Obviously, Sarah wants to know something." The citizen's face reflected excitement. Her voice sounded even more anxious when she mentioned care. Evelyn should think about herself, not only about her acquaintances. Just recently, the mother of the palace shared news about suspicious people who came with questions. They wanted to know various details about the witch living near the forest, even asked about the color of her hair. Sarah notices an important detail. Those people were targeting not only her friend, but also Raven. Her voice sounds calm, but her eyes show anxiety. Her interlocutor groans, and the other notices that such situations are no longer uncommon. A quiet internal monologue causes a terrible assumption. Perhaps those people were slave traders. After that time, they did not appear again. Apparently, they decided to remind about themselves. Thoughts that connected what was happening swarmed in her head. More and more, the guess became clearer. Since someone mentioned Ray, perhaps it was connected with the North family. They finally came for their master. Just in time, her face expressed anxiety, but she resolutely convinced herself to be careful not to rush to conclusions, because every mistake could be fatal. She was not sure who exactly it was. The woman decided that she didn't need to think anymore. She thanks Sarah and Jack for their sincere concern for his person. Her soft voice sounded sincere, although the excitement was still visible in her eyes. Someone came into the house. The door creaked. It was Ray, who seemed to have finally returned. Unfortunately, the atmosphere in the room immediately changed. The woman with white hair calmly says that she heard from a student about people asking about them in the city. Her voice sounds serious, emphasizing the importance of this information. The boy, on the contrary, looks at her with surprise and asks briefly, because he does not quite understand what this will bring them. Sarah decides to support. She assures that she will never reveal their secrets to anyone, and especially where they are, let them search as much as they want. But nothing will come of it. A young man stood next to her, supporting his sister's words. No matter what happens, they will not tell anything. You just need to trust them. Their determination sounded so sincere that it was impossible to doubt their loyalty. A naive joy seizes the heroine when she exclaims with trepidation. Turning to her friends, their loyalty strikes her to the depths of her soul. But Sarah, frowning in embarrassment, loudly objects, refusing to accept such words. She assures that this is just concern and not a reason for laudatory speeches, turning the conversation into a lighter tone. The blonde asks to bring a wooden sword with her. Next time, that would be nice. At first glance, Evelyn can't help but smile as she watches her friends. Despite their surprise, Ray offered to teach them fencing. But if they don't want to, they can refuse. The kids immediately shout that this is not so. They both want to learn how to fight. The opportunity must be taken advantage of while it is still real. After the words, the brunette begins to smile. He is always happy to do everything to make the girl happy. The two escorts watched their master sitting on one of the trees. He seemed to allow himself to smile. For the first time so sincerely, one of them, not hiding his joy, noted how good it is to see him like this. The other agreed, adding that the support of friends brings light to his life. Their joy was reflected in the warmth of their voices, until the moment the boy turned and measured with a menacing look, forcing to be frightened. The young gentleman speaks with restraint, but reproach, as if pointing out unnecessary noise. His tone is strict, but there is discontent in it. In response, the knights hastily justify themselves, timidly bowing their heads. The atmosphere is tense, as if everyone is afraid of making a mistake in front of the gentleman's stern gaze. It seems that they do not understand how to guard, since they raised a fuss in the city. The servants, with a tremor in their voice, continue to justify themselves that a mistake was made. Ray's stern look emphasizes that he is shocked by their actions. Luke assures that he wanted to find a way to help the beauty. She lives all alone, and on top of all that, she is very thin. Okay, it is better to end the conversation, because the boy asks not to touch the child, and even better to reduce people to a minimum, so as not to get caught. The girl thoughtfully looked around the space. Remembering her recent activities in the foggy forest, she was used to pulling out grass, noticing how her physical condition was improving. Now sitting in the clearing, she sighed with relief, deciding that for today there was enough searching in the ground, and relaxed in the shade of the trees. Now it's time to try to find something important. A potion map. This is one of the 8 sacred relics, which is a map of all the potions in the world, with their location, use, and capabilities. To get a map of the earth, you need to find an unusual fruit called Olivier. This will also be a fairly difficult quest. The girl looks around the forest with concentration, thinking about her goal in the dense greenery. There is a mysterious fruit that she must find. She is sure that if she finds this ingredient, then it will be possible to create sacred water, vital for the healing of Crad. The determination in her gaze leaves no doubt that is inside. She stood at the edge of the forest, feeling how the road was becoming more and more difficult. Thoughts about the hidden Olivier salad did not give her peace. Her gaze slid over the thick bushes until finally bright red fruits appeared among the foliage. The heroine stopped. Her heart began to beat faster. Could it really be him? The blonde woman moves cautiously further. She is about to reach the berries. A strange movement distracts her attention, and suddenly a cold hand reaches for her shoulder, causing her to panic. A sharp cry makes the man freeze. Her heart squeezes with anxiety. At first, she thought that these were slave traders from Ataz, but no, someone else is standing in front of her, holding onto the stick as if for salvation. The beauty looks at the stranger with apprehension, asking about his identity. She tries to defend herself, but the masked stranger panics and declares that he is not an enemy. The next second, he declares himself the forest knight, posing with a smile which causes her slight bewilderment. She is not so stupid as to believe in something like that. Although the heroine behaves confidently, her voice still trembles a little, forcing her to reveal her true feelings. She skeptically asks if he really hoped for his flimsy story. Too many questions. Was this man really following her? She was not going to believe the words about good intentions. The uninvited guest tried to justify himself, exclaiming that it was all a mistake. The girl, clenching her fist, listens. As they explained to her the reason for the secret surveillance, she understood only that protection is an order from the master himself, and this makes her think. Confusion can be read in her eyes. The barely spoken word, master, reflects her surprise and confusion. She has no idea who they are talking about. Having looked at her interlocutor closely and tried to understand whether he was worth trusting, the beauty turned away. His voice sounded a little nervous, but he confidently asserted that the owner was a worthy person who could be relied upon. That was all. The words were quickly corrected because he was the owner of the forest, nothing more. The hidden green of the forest enveloped the space, absorbing the light. When Evelyn shot at the bright red fruits hanging from the branches, the forest knight warned her that the berries were poisonous. Realizing the danger, with surprise, she almost touched him, thinking how close she was to a rash step. Obviously just lucky that everything ended well. The girl looked closely at her interlocutor, peering into his face and thinking he did not seem like a bad person. But the word master that he mentioned had been bothering her for about 5 minutes from the very beginning of the conversation. Her gaze accidentally fell on the sword, partially hidden by the folds of his clothes. The ornament of the weapon struck with its elegance, awakening new questions. The most important thing is that the emblem is familiar. A mysterious forest surrounds the wanderer, tormenting him with suspicions. Thoughts about one of the influential families anxiously rush through his head. If these are members of the North family, everything may not be so bad. Hope flares up because their help may be decisive in the current situation. This is the moment the lady has been waiting for several months. The girl quickly changed. She no longer threatens, and now timidly admits that she is looking for a rare fruit, but has no idea where to find it. A plea sounds. She asks the forest knight if he can help her, explains that this fruit is called Olivier and is needed to make jam for the boy with whom she has been living for the past few months. Squinting her eyes, the beauty listened to the stranger's words, saying that the fruit grows on the territory of the North family, but quickly gets rid of it. Speaking about the forest, a smile flashed on her face when she heard confirmation of possible help. Gratitude overwhelmed her, and she called the night kind, hoping that he would become a guide in the search. Against the backdrop of a clear blue sky, the night shows the little girl, the place where those very berries grow. His words sound confident. There are many of them here. Everything turned out to be much simpler than she had to imagine. She, looking at him in surprise, wonders if this territory belongs to the Duke's family, and wonders if it is possible to take the fruits without the owner's permission. Of course, this is just a play on words. The young beauty listens to the words of the mysterious knight with a grateful smile. His playful tone causes a light laugh, and her eyes fill with warmth. She is surprised by the generosity of the North family, who, according to her companion, will turn a blind eye to the harvesting of fruits. Their joyful dialogue cements mutual trust, although one understands that she is simply playing her role. Evelyn looked at the man warily, not hiding her surprise. His confidence combined with his words made her doubt she remembered the words about his belonging to the North family and suspected hidden power in him. But the hero calmly noted that the fruit was tasteless, but could be the basis for an unusual dish that this girl had invented. Be that as it may, one must not seem strange, because then even he will have doubts the girl needs a berry. In any case, her hand goes down into the bushes. This is not Olivier, and even then she did not find anything. It must be small white, and inside there must be a shining precious color, reflecting divine qualities. Finally, a whole bush with berries caught her eye. Some of them were glowing. It was impossible to describe the joy in words. There was even more light. It filled the entire space and scared the beauty. Little cracks of different sizes gradually began to appear on the ground, which were getting bigger and bigger, showing that the end was coming very soon. This means that there will be a fall. The brunette rushes to the lady and extends his hand, but nothing helps. She quickly flies down, realizing that now she will not be able to save herself. After some time, the blonde woke up. She herself did not understand how it happened. The body lies on the ground. Everything around is too white. Something happened after the lady found that very fruit and picked just one piece. There is a strange page with written text ahead. At first, It is unclear what the words are because of the light, so you have to look closely. The contract of the sacred object floats forward. Those who want the shrine are obliged to make a covenant in blood. These are the conditions. Otherwise, it will not be possible to get what you need. Not everyone will agree to this, but the blonde will definitely behave differently. The contract for sacred objects is fulfilled through the dreams of the person who wants to get the thing, which means that all this was unreal. The girl simply fell asleep and found the right fruit. Sincere joy sparkles in her eyes. It's good that very soon she will be able to leave and prepare that very water. The last final stage of treatment for the disease. Still, Evelyn, as the author, has it much easier because she is in a place where she knows every next move. She has many advantages. The map of potions, like the contract, the woman came up with herself, so she will follow what she knows. The first thing you need to do is put a seal with blood, carefully biting the edge of your finger. The heroine presses the pad on the snow-white wall, right at the bottom of the paper sheet. It hurts her, but now it is not important at all. The light becomes even greater, although it would seem, how is this even possible? A cup appeared in front of the beauty, the Holy Grail. Because of this sinister relic, a terrible war will soon fall, which will cover not only the whole continent, but the whole world, justifying the beginning of the end. The thing is also one of what the author created to complete the plot. The Grail is even more dangerous because it can harm the soul of the person who takes it. This time, the lady is not sure why something like this appeared right in front of her. She does not remember writing this in the Holy Contract. The cup was supposed to appear only in a few years, not sooner. In order to follow the written plot, the Holy Grail glows as brightly as everything else around, making you realize that everything is even more complicated than it might seem. A female voice is heard. She says something calmly but very distantly. It is difficult to understand. After a few seconds, it seems that it is heard better. The girl says that if she had more time, she would even try to fall in love at least once, to experience that very soft and sincere connection called love. It seems that these are the thoughts that the author had while writing the story. A beautiful figure of a dark-haired lady appeared behind. She approaches a few steps, thinking about the fact that they want to sell an illegitimate child to Rastavan North. They say that if a baby is born in a family, then its mother dies because of the power of the blood. She has no chance of salvation, even at the beginning of pregnancy. In addition to one voice, another one is heard. It talks to the first heroine. Since the child is of mixed blood, she will be lucky if she at least survives. It would be nice for everything to end exactly like this. Many did not think that even if everything ends, she will be able to live with that monster duke who kills people as if he doesn't care. The person who came up from behind is Raven's mother. It's not hard to tell the blonde is intently examining her features. They didn't make anything up about her. Something happened that made the story change a little. The brunette quietly asks the duke to believe her. She will definitely find a way for the whole family to live together. She wants happiness to always be with them, and she does not want a man to kill a child just so that his wife can survive. It would be unfair. The heroine herself knows that she is a healthy and strong person of mixed race, and nothing happened at birth. The blonde watches the two of them from the side. Ray's parents. The moment is filled with pain that spreads outward. The man tries his best to convince Celestia, but it is not so easy to sway her. She is fine, and thanks for the dream that was made a reality. A bright light appeared in front, again. It is more like a window that opened right in the air. The voices gradually blur, merging with reality. The ears are blocked. Opening her eyes, the girl rubs her face, trying to understand where she is. Obviously, the body was carried home, but she does not remember at all how she ended up in bed. It is probably the work of that night from the forest. It seems that Belle had a strange dream, from which she became incredibly scared. A guy hurries to the girl, who hugs the beauty, shouting her name. Trying to turn away a little, the woman asks if the man was really there all this time, or when he came. She asks what happened, and gets an angry look. She slept for almost 2 days. and it seemed that she would never again be able to see her alive as happy as before. The boy's voice reminds the girl that she fell off a cliff, as if accusing her of carelessness, but in reality, it simply shows what happened. The man holds her tightly, admitting that for a long time, he did not know if she would open her eyes. His gaze filled with anxiety, while he asks why she went into the forest again, knowing what danger awaited her there. Ray scolds Belle for not warning her about going into the forest so that he could accompany her. His voice sounds with notes of anger and worry. Belle is surprised to notice that this is the first time she sees him so angry. Realizing how much he was worried about her, this moment awakens a feeling of guilt and warmth in her, which makes her a little nervous. The young girl sits on the bed, her hands tightly clenched into fists, her lips barely audibly whispering an apology. "Sorry, North." She explains in a reserved manner that she went into the forest for olive jam, which was a little strange, but obviously important. His gaze becomes stern, and his words reveal hidden concern. "What jam? The main thing is, how are you? Are you okay?" Evelyn confidently reports that she feels great. She cheerfully notes that the fall was not so terrible, because there was a good night nearby in response to her carelessness. The young brunette notes that if something like this happens again, the consequences can be much worse, warning her to take precautions. The pale light fills the room, casting shadows on the faces of the interlocutors. The restrained voice sounds with a note of warning, promising anger if something like this happens again. The look becomes thoughtful. She realizes that usually it is she who grumbles at him, and not the other way around. Now the situation is different, filled with care that she did not expect. It makes her smile a little on the corner of her lips. The girl's face shows all sincerity, as she promises to be careful, not to let something like this happen again. But doubt is born in her thoughts. Waking up from this dream, she realizes that she made a promise that she most likely will not be able to keep, and a slight shade of sadness remains inside. The heroine's gaze is directed into the distance. Anxiety is hidden behind the question about the meaning of the Holy Grail. She still remembers how the relic appeared unexpectedly. The man following her thoughts notices the strange words, and slightly frowning says, "Well, you're something?" Questions and bewilderment seem to permeate the atmosphere. Belle smiles happily, looking at her interlocutor. Her voice sounds confident when she asks for a promise. The young man opposite remains serious. His gaze is piercing with tension, reflecting deep affection. Then she still did not imagine what awaits her, next looking into a bright future, as if everything will be fine. Darkness envelops the palace, and bloody drops on the floor remind of cruelty. Farrell lies lifeless, his life ended quickly. The emperor contemptuously says that he was of no use. An order was given to search for Raven, hiding like a rat. Perhaps his hideout is one of the cities on the outskirts, but he certainly could not die so easily. A worthy cover. The man frowns, holding back his anger but speaks calmly. His words about speeding up the search sound stern, indicating the need for precision. His interlocutor is silent, only nodding. There are Ataz, slave traders in the city with their help. Everything will speed up many times. Smiling, the king orders to act. The servant likes that he is quickly understood. It is time to act. The merchant, holding a piece of paper in his hands, hums a melody with a grin. A young man with black hair and a sharp gaze is depicted on it. The thought that money can be obtained for catching this child flashes through his head. Greed and indifference push him to action because it will not be so difficult to carry out what he has planned. It is quite realistic, understanding that without the help of the annoying white-haired girl, he can earn more money, fills the hero with joy. The boy turns out to be more valuable than expected. He decides with a grin that it is time to start hunting, and the first thing he intends to do is assemble a team that will ensure the success of his plans. The young hero looks through the document with concentration, his gaze sliding over the familiar face in the photograph. Thoughts of an unexpected find form in his head because exactly the same person is sitting outside the window. In the house, disbelief takes over his consciousness for a split second, and the fact that the target was so close fuels the excitement of the upcoming hunt. The slave trader was concentrating on examining the features of that man. His peace was broken by a blonde beauty who suddenly appeared next to Raven. Her lively voice made him distracted. A thought flashed through his mind. How could she invite him into her house so quickly? There must be some trick here. Thoughtfully rubbing his chin, he decides that everything will be even better. His gaze filled with a greedy gleam. The thought that white-haired and black-haired people are rare fueled his happiness. Catching both and selling them together sounds like a dream. The reward will be impressive. A smile appeared on his face, as if he already sees himself as a winner, which he is not. The city of Brydium, formerly part of the Empire, retains its citizenship, despite its remote location. Its inhabitants have the right to request protection from the state. Relying on this status, the streets of the city are lively. There is a feeling of unity with the Empire in the air. People living there can request protection from the state. The man's grin widened as he noticed the possibility of circumventing the rules. He had originally thought that it was impossible to officially contact citizens like Evelyn. But if he signed a contract, everything would be possible. His confidence and greed grew because the paper could open doors to new opportunities, and therefore money and wealth. Kira, the owner of the only bakery in town, looks proud of her role. And Naz, a specialist in poisonous herbs, hides a dangerous essence behind a calm appearance. The area, in fact, is held together by people like them. And finally, Jade. They call him an outcast, but he is a master of potion brewing. Only they are needed. The insidious plan was built in the best possible way. If the circumstances were successful, he would easily turn one of the children, or maybe both, into his slaves. Greed sparkled in his eyes, and his thoughts were seized with the anticipation of quick profit. There were only a few steps left. To experience the beautiful first, he needed to go to the mother of Sarah and Jack. The red-haired man, hiding his cunning behind a friendly smile, hands over the document immediately after a light greeting. He assures that there is nothing important in the paper, just a formality. Self-confidence shines through in his voice when he talks about the suspicious girl, adding that her presence or absence does not matter. Evelyn borrowed money and did not return it. It would be right to teach her a lesson. The leaf falls into the dough, and there is a loud splash. The woman did it on purpose because she understood that something was wrong. Atos indignantly realizes that his contract is ruined, and his face is distorted from shock. The indignation is growing, but already inside Kira. She ruined the dough, and now she demands compensation for damages, angrily looking at the culprit. Self-confidence quickly evaporates when an even more threatening tone is heard from the bakery owner. The way to negotiate ends in complete failure, and the threat sounds so bright that the man quickly retreats. Her cold gaze seems to pierce, leaving a feeling of complete collapse. It is better not to return there again. Atos clutches the contract in his hand, realizing that the situation is getting out of control. In desperation, he thinks about the next step, deciding to contact Nasu, the seller of poisonous plants. He hopes that he will agree to help. The plan seems risky, but now it is his only option. He needs that girl. In Nasu's gloomy house, a man nervously explains the reason for his visit. His voice trembling slightly, but trying to remain confident. 3 men stand in front of him, with looks as if the end has come. Their silence only increases the tension. He understands that it will not be easy to expect help from them. One of the sons asks his father if they should kill a man who is talking nonsense. The second asks for permission instead of agreeing. The brunette offers to bring one interesting thing. The voice greatly frightens the merchant, forcing him to back away. He realized that it was time to run away. Horror splashes in his eyes. He chuckles. In front of him is a precious guest who came himself, so behaving rudely with him would be something unacceptable. The guys grab him by the shoulders, and their father pours strange tea into his mouth, silencing muffled screams and curses. A few minutes later, the man was thrown out into the street. There was no point in keeping him anymore. There was even more anger inside. That family also hated the girl living near the forest. For some reason, the relationship changed radically, even too abruptly. Although she did nothing to them, Jade remained. This rude man definitely could not start caring about Evelyn. Standing near the hut, Atos knocks on the door with all his might, almost knocking it down. He heard that the blonde has been bothering the one who brews the potion lately. The joy is that he knows how to get rid of the witch and make money on it, so it will become easier for everyone around. Opening the entrance, the hero shows his face. It expresses even greater hatred for the world than usual. Obviously, the man was at home all this time, but simply decided not to open. Atos is invited inside there. He begins to rejoice. Finally, a person has appeared with whom he can normally discuss the situation. The situation unfortunately repeated itself. He was thrown out again. The one who prepares the potions had to do something, that's why he let him in, not wanting to be disturbed from the very morning. If something like this happens, even once more, he will definitely not forgive it. The knights are sitting in the bushes. It seems they did not have to do anything, because the citizens sorted everything out. He was unlucky with the choice of 3 houses. A message came from the family doctor, Shuang. It turned out that the head of the family had finally come to his senses after being unconscious in his bed for months. The knights urgently need to return. They understand that they urgently need to inform the master. Several days have passed since the girl began to make a potion, based on the potion card that she received last time. Finally, everything worked out. Smiling, the beauty asks Ray to drink a food supplement made from the potion. He does not suspect that the contents of the bottle will neutralize the poison. The boy will remain skeptical. It is the friend who is constantly forced to take supplements. But no, she is healthy enough. She no longer needs it, especially since she does not know how the potion will affect the treatment by Bard. The brunette still refuses. The stubbornness continues. There is one reason. The girl assures that the guy will not feel anything. He only needs 1 drop in the food, so the smell will not be felt. The blonde talks to her friend like a child. He doesn't really like it. It's easier to agree. Evelyn hopes that Ray's normal state will return and he will get better. The merchant from Atos watches from the window, cursing the blonde. His last attempt to steal her failed again. But today he will definitely succeed. There is a knock on the door. A familiar voice orders them to open it for him, so as not to keep him waiting. The woman is angry. She has already said that he never came here again. The beauty wants to close the door, but the guy puts a knife forward, not allowing her to escape. He brought soldiers with him. The brunette was too soft with the girl. Now he understands that he should have acted differently. It would be better for the heroine to live as a slave than to die now, ending her life. If she signs the contract, no more problems will arise. Everything is in her hands. The merchant grinned and already imagined how wonderfully everything would end. He should have done it right away and not wasted too much time. All that was left was to find that black-haired man. Behind them, screams are heard. People are falling one after another from the sword. Raven asks Belle not to come closer. If she doesn't mind, he will kill the man right here, adding to the others. Some kid was able to deal with everyone in a few seconds. It's terrible, but still, no matter what he does, he has a hostage in his hands. She won't go anywhere. As the man thought, he has the advantage. Not these kids. They should just stop playing games. At the moment of jubilation, the beauty hits his legs. She realized that this way she could get rid of the problems. The slave trader had been hanging around the city lately, but it seemed he had finally decided to approach. It was unclear what his goal was. He probably wanted to kidnap Belle to get money. Thanks to her friend, the girl was not hurt. She is completely fine. It seems that now the remaining fighters can be killed. They do not deserve the right to live. Waving her hands to show her sincere feelings, the heroine assures that there is no point in this. The sinister look has returned again. It is better to tie them up and leave them under public protection. This way, Ray wouldn't have to get his hands dirty. He shouldn't be doing something like that. The boy thought about it, but still agreed it would be easier that way. Ataz can hardly walk. He crawls further from home. He will still be able to find out who is who. First, he needs to tell that Raven is here in the city. Because of the reward, the young man almost died himself. A man in a raincoat with dark hair appeared on the road. He clarifies the identity of the person. The brunette inspires fear. He has never seen anything like this before. Of course, Rastavan knew that the people of the city were the emperor's dogs, but he didn't think that he was stupid enough to send such a strange man ahead to catch the boy. The stranger does not explain what is wrong and how he found out about what is happening. The companion touched something that should not have been touched. For this, he will now have to feel pain that cannot be borne. Leaving the man on the road to die, Rastavan went to the hut. Looking out the window, he understands that his son lives right here. It's good that he is okay. Only the identity of the child nearby is unknown. There is a soft smile on the boy's face. His father hasn't seen anything like this for a long time. Perhaps he should stay in this place a little longer to feel better. The next morning, Evelyn was told that a merchant who had been wandering around the city had recently disappeared. If we were talking about that man after a serious conversation with Ray, he had obviously fled. Sarah also doesn't quite understand what happened, but she heard that he ran away with all the important documents of that group of merchants. It was most profitable for him. The girl doesn't understand, on the contrary. In her opinion, he harmed himself in this way. The brunette chuckles. He knows who started acting immediately after he came to his senses. Yesterday evening, the knight reported about Rastavan. The boy told everything to sort out the situation. Apparently, the father also intervened this time personally. The children left because the lesson was over. Raven wants to tell something, but he doesn't start talking right away. He has some unusual expression on his face. Something happened while the boy lived with Belle. His condition improved significantly, and it seemed that things at home had also settled down. It seemed that it was time for him to leave. Even without words, it was clear where the conversation was leading, slowly approaching the very edge. Upon returning, the man wants to repay the heroine, so he does not want her to go to the slave traders just for money. She herself must understand what is what. Laughing lightly, the beauty asks again if this is true. He doesn't need to do anything. Sadness has accumulated inside, from the realization that very soon everything will end and he will leave. Be that as it may, the day will soon come when we will really have to part, and then nothing can be changed. Unfortunately, everything will be exactly the same as before the hero arrived. The girl wants to have as many pleasant memories as possible. The boy definitely doesn't need to be given money, because suddenly a desperate idea came into his head on how to earn more money. There is nothing better than not making any effort, but getting what your heart desires in reality. It will sound funny, but in this world no one knows more about herbs than the blonde. She took advantage of the knowledge and made many different things from cheap ingredients. Finally, the first day of sales of various medicines and more has arrived. The girl invites you to her stand. They have delicious plant snacks here. An ointment that helps with dry and sensitive skin is also here. A healthy dessert that looks elegant, tastes good, and resembles something pleasant. The woman wants to draw people's attention to another product, which in turn will naturally transfer interest to the ointment. The first buyer admired the food made from flowers. The various desserts tasted incredible. Of course, I wanted to know what the name of this food was. There was a thunder cake on the table. It is also good for the skin. One piece costs 1 silver, but if you buy 3, another piece will be a gift, as if from a generous seller. As the lady thought, attention is drawn to the ointment lying on the table, which you can probably try. It is specially designed for dry skin. That man bought 2 jars. Raven was interested in how the heroine wanted to make money. It was clear that she had a whole business plan. It was evening. He couldn't believe there were so many sales. He knew Belle was good at herbs, but he had no idea about the wonderful skills that had finally shown up. It would be a shame if the lady spent the rest of her life in a place like this. It's no better here. so it would be a shame if it all ended this way. We need to take her to the capital. A strange feeling appeared, and now the father is standing in front of the boy. The man hopes that Ray was doing well. The hero nods. He heard that Rastavan woke up. It's good that everything ended better than expected. There are always positives in everything. Apparently, the young man lives with Belle. She suggested being together because she was lonely. At first, the boy thought she was lying, but now he wants to believe her because she shows sympathy. The brunette understood what his son meant. He would only watch from afar because he understood that if he interfered, he could inadvertently ruin something, making everything only worse. The following days were even more profitable. People vied with each other to be the first to buy delicacies or potions with ointment. The blonde jumps with joy. Their affairs are going quite well today. For the first time, the woman talked to a large number of people in the city. Of course, Belle likes the way things are going for her. This way, she will meet a good man. She wants a relationship. Everything becomes obvious. The heroine hopes that this will be a trustworthy person. She likes older men. This is probably due to the difference in psychological age from children. Ray puts his head in his hands. He is so disgusted that it is difficult to even speak. Trying to remain calm, the brunette asks why his friend likes those who are a little older. The conversation stopped quite quickly because laughter was heard quite loudly. Strangely, in front, there was only a large black dog, similar to a wolf. Belle rushes forward. The blonde has never seen this animal in their city. The girl lures the baby and gently strokes his face. The dog is affectionate and not at all like the others. Ray turns away as if he is jealous. Although to experience such feelings for a puppy, it seems the heroine does not understand at all that something is wrong. This is exactly what the father meant when he promised to watch from afar. The baby's smile is exactly the same as Rastavan's. It is definitely unmistakable, especially for his son. Instead of letting the dog go, the woman offers to be friends, calls him adorable, and makes even Raven raise an eyebrow in surprise. He is so innocent and handsome that the name suits him. Belle won't be able to take the animal with her because her home isn't the best place right now, but she hopes that she'll be able to see him again very soon. His Majesty was informed that North Senior had woken up from the effects of the poison. The accidentally scattered communication beads played a huge role, and outwardly he looked quite normal. The blonde starts to get angry, throwing everything in a row. It's bad that the head of the family is back in action, so the plan to find the boy gradually fails. There will be nothing left. The Chancellor asks to wait and monitor the situation. Knowing that it will be easier, he will tell his son to help his child is special. He will be able to show his devotion. The maid turned to Zale. His Excellency, Lockart, calls the guy to his office. Turning around, the hero nods. If so, he will go there immediately. Nail smiles. It seems even the king believed the way things were. Lockart was a being who lived long ago, when the Imperial family was still called Sirius. The man lives a life that exceeds human capabilities, and also has the so-called passionate desire, which is dependent on something. He wants to study all black magic after 4 years of searching for ingredients for the vessel of life that holds the soul of the lychee. He came to one conclusion: only the heart of a person from the North family could be used as material for one's cherished wish. The king's minions only spoiled everything. Zale, who should somehow correct the situation, will definitely not disappoint. A quick victory will be in his hands, and this makes it better. Lockart the Younger is the successor, having gained the favor and trust of the Chancellor. And despite being only 15 years old, he is smarter than his peers. The man asked his son to find out something. He would have to send reports from Ataz, doing this regularly enough to get the overall picture. According to the man, it will be necessary to identify the merchant's bribery and rebellion, and as an official to draw up a response about the relationship. The real task is to find the successor of the North family, who others believe is hiding in that city on the cliff, without whom there is no way to return. My head started to hurt again. Zale is known as the Chancellor's biological son, But in reality, he is an ordinary orphan slave who was very smart and who was then raised as his own. The boy always obeys the chancellor without question. He simply has no choice. The blonde wants to cope with the task, but his physical condition can ruin everything. To leave the city on the outskirts, you need to go through a checkpoint, but the man checked all the documents and did not find anyone matching the description. Raven North's clothes were found near the river in the misty forest, but as soon as Rastavan woke up, he headed in the opposite direction somewhere deep into the town. Everything is really annoying. There is no choice but to go to the city to check everything myself. In my hands is a report from Ataz. People had never heard of the Bell brand before it appeared, gradually expanding the range of goods from food to medicines. Due to the increased popularity, word of the brand has spread even to the ordinary residential area, and now the products are known even outside the city in the undeveloped area. There is finally something worthwhile. Zale arrived right within the village. The first thing to do is to ask people, because if unnecessary rumors start, later problems will arise. Having cooled his head a little, the young man wants to get down to his superficial work, first learning about the brand that was written about in the report he read today. Some boy in the city just pushed a stranger throwing his diary. He didn't really say anything. Some man shouts after him. Feeling extremely bad, the blonde goes forward, holding on to the wall. He needs to leave quickly. People are doing something incomprehensible in this place. Everything is too suspicious. As soon as he manages to rest a little, the hero is going to go back to his castle. It seems he should try to go to another place to search a little later. Evelyn hands the purchase to the woman, who thanks her and notices that another order has arrived for menthol strips. Miss is like a goddess for the whole city. At such a young age, the beauty is resourceful enough to be able to develop her own business quite quickly. The blonde is happy that everything is going better than ever. She would never have thought that she would be able to make a deal with the merchants and create a new company. For some time, she would not have to worry about money. On the road in the alley, the lady stumbled upon Zale, lying there. She freezes in horror, screaming and calling for help. The girl simultaneously checks the man's pulse, hoping that he will be okay. The hero has 2 children in his dream. Peter and Charlotte seem to be nearby, but suddenly they both fall. Blood oozes out, which sends shivers down his spine. The blonde jumps up sharply on the bed, not understanding where exactly he is. Now a girl entered the room, asking if her guest is okay. Evelyn explains that she saw him lying on the street and then brought him here. She doesn't forget to ask how he's feeling. She wants everything to be okay. Clutching the sheet in his hands, the boy tries to restrain himself. He thanks and is in great debt to his savior. His name is Zale Lockart. The heroine immediately freezes, with her eyes wide open, as if she is not hearing the name for the first time. Laughing nervously, she assures that she simply knows a person similar to the guest. The girl finds it hard to believe this man is the main character of the book, since Nail's family is related to merchants. She thought that she would meet him someday, but certainly not so soon. Lockart had some hidden motives for appearing in the city so early. It is difficult to remember any twists and turns of the plot, so we are left to rely on reality. In the novel, the young man is supposed to visit the state on the outskirts as the manager of a toes, but he arrived much earlier than it happened in the novel. Be that as it may, the woman did not recognize the boy, because in the novel, only his name was indicated, so that's what he looks like. The hero has caused a lot of trouble, in which case, it is time for him to leave. Clutching his shoulders with his hands, the girl asks to stay until he has completely recovered. All the same, the blonde cannot accept the kindness of the hospitable beauty. It would be rude of him to stay, deciding that it would be much easier that way. Of course, Evelyn did not expect such a turn of events, but perhaps it was even for the best in the novel. Zale, although he was the main character, did not have a special role. It would be worth replacing him with a secondary one. The boy was not related to the Emperor, but there was one very important point. Lockart Jr. is the last descendant of the Star Fairy. He feeds on hopes, can feel what another person wants. Fairies can tell about hopes that a person does not even know about, and vice versa. They can trample hopes and make them disappear, literally dying. When Raven is in despair, the power will definitely have an effect. It would be good to take the chance and recruit Zale earlier, keeping up with the situation. A boy entered the room, asking what their guest was talking about. It was the successor of the North family himself, the man whom Lockart had been looking for all this time, who had now come into his hands. The brunette is not as friendly as the hostess. He thinks that since the guy has come to his senses, it is time to leave. The girl is trying to convince him otherwise. Taking advantage of his position, the hero suddenly grabs his head, saying that his sinus has suddenly started to hurt, and he needs to rest a little more. It seems the girl was right. He overestimated his strength. Evelyn, if she really agrees, can allow him to stay in the house for a few more days. A picture begins to form in the brunette's head. His friend said that she likes older men. Perhaps everything was leading to this. Something is spinning between them. Thanking for the sincere concern, Lockart hopes that they will be able to get along with each other. He will not reveal his plans. He will follow until the end. Sarah and Jack look carefully at who is present with them in class. Today, their teacher, obviously completely fearless, constantly finds incomprehensible people. The blonde suggests that everyone be as friendly as possible, because they will be seeing each other for some time, and they will have to get used to it. The duo were introduced to Zale, who even seemed to be smiling. He was paying attention to the pile of books on the table. I would like to understand why all this was prepared. The woman teaches the children to write. They are the most ordinary children from a city on the outskirts. She probably does not suspect that what she is doing is illegal. It's understandable what the guy wants to say, but she thinks it's unfair to deprive someone of the right to study because of one piece of paper. Sarah quietly asks the girl if everything is okay. It's probably better not to tell her about something like that, otherwise it will only get worse. Be that as it may, the lady knows what kind of person Lockart is. He also agrees that the citizenship system is ineffective, because this system takes away all chances from talented people. The young man did not expect that the stranger would talk about such a delicate issue with someone she was seeing for the first time in her life. If his father had not chosen Zale, and he had grown up in the city, he probably would not have gotten anything. The hero imagines how he could possibly grow up with these children now, without experiencing incredible pressure on himself. Perhaps it's time for him to stop thinking about useless things. The blonde gets up to leave, but again grabs his head. He asks for forgiveness. It seems that his body has not fully recovered yet. It will be difficult to walk back to the bedroom alone. The woman offers to walk him, thereby providing assistance. But Raven again pushes forward, taking on too much. It is quite difficult to hide such a person. The boy promises Belle that everything will be fine. She should think about her own affairs. Happiness splashes in her eyes. They need to give time for them to become friends, at least a little. By leading Lockart into the room, North shows hostility. He knows who is in front of him. It is unclear what was originally intended, but if he touches his girlfriend, he will not leave alive. All this time, the hero was thinking why the boy did not want to return. It turned out that he had an incentive to stay. Ray wanted to be near his friend. The blonde didn't expect that he would be able to find Raven North so quickly. He was just lucky, nothing more. He should have reported to his father, but for some reason, he didn't. North didn't even try to hide his identity. His gaze served as a kind of warning that if he dug further, his life would end. If Nail were to report, the young man would be immediately attacked and killed. He must pass on the information after safety was guaranteed, which still needs to be achieved. An innocent child as a witness can suffer. The girl should remain safe too, because she does not deserve to experience something bad. After North led Zale into the room, he came to his friend to talk about what was going on. He had some doubts about how everything was happening and where it was leading. The young man didn't say anything, since the young lady herself brought him. But it's better to stay away from him. Frankly speaking, the man doesn't like him at all. There are too many thoughts in her head. The girl does not understand why everything is turning out this way. She thought that, in the end, they would be able to become friends. It seems she was wrong. The brunette acts as if he is disgusted by the very idea that a person might want to stay here. The girl realized that her friend was simply jealous. This is the most logical answer. There is no need to worry because the most precious friend is Ray. Sarah entered the room, noticing with displeasure that the couple was cooing again. Immediately distracted from their occupation, the girl smiled. She herself did not notice how time flew by. The beauty was already waiting for them. It was good if they were ready. Since they hadn't been on a picnic for a long time, Jack and Sarah took a lot of goodies with them. The preparations are obviously finished. The food is warm. It's time to go. Zale also needs to be called along with them. He can't be left alone. The more people, the better. The picnic should be the best and should end as it should. It would be a shame if they just went for a walk without him. But this is a good opportunity to get closer. Jack put his hand on the hero's shoulder, promising that everything would be fine, even if no one listened to him. The blonde was not interested in the man, and this was immediately noticeable. Enjoying the picnic, everyone does what they like. The girl plays with Charming, while the brunette offers the young man something to eat. A bottle with a bright liquid attracts attention inside. Is a potion that Evelyn invented. She said that it is dangerous, so it cannot be touched under any circumstances. It's unclear what effect it has or what it is, but the girl brought it to show before selling it. It seems Evelyn is much more influential than Zale thought. After a while, she calls everyone so they can look at the jar. The potion is made to create fireworks without problems. It's for the holiday. Sarah and Jack have probably never seen anything like this, so they will be the first to be shown it. You need to open the lid, and then everything will happen by itself. The beauty made everyone move away while sparks appear in the sky. It seems that the lady is a real genius. It is hard to believe that such a diamond is in such a small town. If Zale's brother and sister were alive, they would probably spend their time exactly like this, remaining happy, smiling. The girl asks if the boy is having fun. The hero smiles back lightly, blushing a little. He is about to kiss her hand, thanking her for inviting him. Raven intervenes between them. He didn't like what was happening. I'd like North to become friends with Lockart, but it still doesn't seem like it's going to work out yet. Despite everything, the picnic didn't go too badly. The same dream makes you want to cry. The kids cling to your legs, telling the blonde that he abandoned them. They don't want to listen to what was true and what was the opposite. Jumping up on the bed, he grabs his head again. The same dream that has been haunting him for many years. After all, the young man does not deserve to have a good time. There was a knock on the door. It turned out to be Evelyn. She carefully asked what happened. She wanted to check how the man was feeling. There is no need to worry about your friend. It is better to go and rest. The girl refused. She will leave when she sees Lockart fall asleep. He has never had anyone in his life who would stay by his side. The guy was all in a cold sweat. As Evelyn thought he had insomnia, she had never seen anyone who managed to rest peacefully without problematic dreams. Maybe this is the reason why the physical condition is not improving. Zale asks not to worry. It is because of overwork. It will get better if you can rest a little. The girl takes the guy by the hand and persistently promises that she will definitely help him get better. Everything will definitely be fine. The young man did not neglect this amazing disease that tormented him all his life. This man will not be able to cure what many doctors of Nyla could not do. Still, the heroine doesn't seem to lose hope. She can prepare a special potion. It will definitely help. Even Zale is skeptical about this. Of course, they had already tried to give him a potion during treatment. Even if Evelyn had a talent for making it, the result would hardly be predictable. No one would be able to end the nightmare of his father's curse. The next morning, the heroine took up potion making. The food supplements she prepared for Ray would also work for Zale, and she would be able to make something more effective. The blonde always uses her own tears as one of the ingredients. There are many different benefits from supplements, but right now the sleep effect is needed. Tears can have a calming effect. It won't be in vain. On the contrary, it will only get better. The girl has already experimented a couple of times. The fruit used is the lichili, a berry used for ointment. When crushed, it has a spicy taste reminiscent of hot pepper. It seems like a few berries are enough, but the lady smells pepper and can't stop crying. Ray appears behind her. He seems to be terrified. The boy already doesn't like Zale. It will be very bad if the girl suddenly tells that she is crying, because the potion is being prepared for Nail's son. Nothing happened. The lady was cutting onions because she wanted to make onion soup for dinner. The brunette didn't say anything. He just hugged her sharply, calmly, exhaling. It is not clear what exactly happened, but if anything, the lady can always tell and not go through it alone. She should not feel bad. It seems that a strange misunderstanding has occurred. Again, thoughts are constantly directed in a strange direction. The heroine could not help but notice that before she and Ray were the same height, now he has become taller and stronger. Only a few days have passed. Evelyn has finally finished everything. She is happy that everything worked out. She tells Zale that she made the potion that she promised. The woman suddenly starts coughing. There is blood on her palm. It is difficult to stop, but it still works. The young man brewed tea carefully, holding out a mug. This should calm her down a little. The blonde sincerely thanks, but repeats again that the truth is completely fine. Evelyn should take care of herself first, and not others. The heroine has some kind of chronic illness. She was simply born with it. It looks like someone familiar knows well how to take care of the sick. The man used to have a brother and sister who needed constant care, and without letting him finish his sentence, the girl hands him the potion she promised to make. The blonde is fine. He does not want to accept the gift, but the interlocutor insists on it. She wants her sincere help to be accepted. It is better to drink the contents of the bottle before going to bed. Having decided to take a risk, the hero went to bed. Of course, before that he bought what the girl asked him to do, as he thought the same dream would happen again. It's been a few days since the lady gave Zale the potion. She's a little worried because he hasn't spoken to her at all since then, just hid. Evelyn wasn't sure if everything worked, so she came to visit a friend. She enters the room, but from the doorway, they rush to her to hug. All thanks to the beauty, everything turned out as best as possible. It seems to be connected with this insomnia. Whatever it was, this sharp reaction is different. The young man told how he had a brother and sister. He was wandering the streets when the chancellor elected him and took him with him to the mansion. Naturally, he had to leave the family. Nothing more was heard about them. It seemed like they were already dead, and even after some time, there was no way to know if it was true or not. Thanks to the potion, Zale saw the appearance of a family with whom everything seemed to be fine. This is from the past. After this, the young man plucked up his courage and began to search for the location. He managed to find out that they were still alive. That's all he really needed. This miracle would not have happened if it weren't for Evelyn. The blonde has no idea how he will ever be able to thank her, but he hopes that he will succeed. The heroine is silent. She didn't know that Zale had such a past. Everything ended well. One can only be happy with how things are. Everything worked as it should. A few days passed. The man is about to leave once again, asking for forgiveness for causing too much trouble. Before leaving, the two exchanged a few pleasantries. Whatever the case, Evelyn had ensured that the blonde was now doing well, and if she needed the chancellor's help, she could turn to him. A whole month has passed since everything ended. Not much time has passed, but it is already time to prepare for another farewell. It was necessary to leave after a full recovery. But after what happened, it became clear that it was time to make a decision. The girl will make further plans later. She coughs again, slightly frightening Charming, who jumps to the side. Virgo explains that she will soon leave. In fact, she is a little sick, and now she is thinking about getting better and seeing the world. It would be wonderful if she could take him with her, but it will be difficult. Her loyal friend would take care of the baby. It was a little awkward to leave without saying anything. But on the other hand, Ray would probably stop her if he knew what was going on. Now is not the time to think about it. There is a lot to do before time runs out. Lately, she has noticed that her feelings for North have become complicated and are only getting stronger with time. The boy is much younger than the main character, so she cannot even allow herself to think about something like that. It goes beyond the bounds of decency. There are footsteps behind him. Raven's voice asks where Evelyn is going. As he thought she wanted to leave, without saying a word, it was much easier that way. Even though the beauty was feeling unwell, she still couldn't leave without saying anything. The man couldn't help but smell the blood coming from it. Ray is from a noble family. Even though he didn't say it, it was quite obvious she also wants to find her place in this world, be happy, and live a full life. In any case, the decision has already been made. It's time to leave. There's no point in staying. The boy wants to object, but he is asked to shut up. He said that one day he wants to cry to her for everything when he returns home. If the young man wants to do this, it is better to just let her go. As he said, the girl really does not feel very well, but she knows a way to make her feel better. Having let go of his friend, he will not have to forget her. The hero will live only happily from now on. All this time, the lady lied said that she was fine, as if she was trying to push him away. Raven just wants to be with the one he truly loves, but obviously she doesn't share the same feelings, asking the hero to take care of his health. The girl leaves. Evelyn's goal was the flower town of El Casa. She did all the paperwork, and thanks to her business, was finally able to save up money to move there. The treatment for Krata is not yet completely finished, but after high-quality holy water, the disease will be over. The woman always dreamed of living a quiet life, but now, for some reason, she feels lonely. Xuan told North's family about the illness, judging by the symptoms they mentioned. It was indeed the case. If she was vomiting blood, it meant that her insides were already full. The girl must have left to die. Even if she had a goal to go somewhere specific, she could very well just fall on the way there. Ray doesn't know what she'll do, but she won't let that happen, under any circumstances. The lady looks around at Point X. She was supposed to meet the coachman. Several hours have already passed, and he still hasn't come, leaving her alone. The girl urgently needs to find a new coachman. She runs to the first one who is driving ahead on the road. Of course, she asks to go to Elka's, promising that she will pay generously. The man apologizes, but he can't seat the beauty because of the luggage. Alas, it's impossible. It seems he'll have to go to the city and find out about the carriage. It seems it will be a bit difficult. Everyone has problems with such carts. They can't move normally because of the large number of orders for merchants. The road is already clogged. The coachmen are pushing even harder. The situation, as it turned out, will not improve for another 2 or 3 weeks. If the lady is not in a hurry, then it is better to postpone her trip and only then go. It is a little easier that way. The blonde doesn't understand what to do next. The road is very dangerous. There's nothing she can do to go to the next town and catch a carriage. She'll have to go back home and think about what to do next. Returning, the beauty ran into Ray. He should not be there, no matter what the maiden says, that she will not change her decision. Everything remains exactly the same. The chain of events is unchanged. The boy takes the palms. He holds out beautiful flowers of a delicate color. As it turns out, they are good for health. Raven came to give them, realizing that it would be better this way. Once a day, you need to chew the color before going to bed. This way, it will become a little easier, although the disease will not be cured. The brunette needs to be given something else, but he will return later. Now this is of no use. Ray left without saying goodbye, just promising that they would see each other at least once again. That's what they both needed so much. He was making things much more difficult. Outside the window stands Rastavan, watching what is happening. The herb is called Setia, which is guarded by spirits. To get it, at least 7 elite first-class mercenaries are needed. Ray is fascinated by this child. After spending time with her, even North understands his feelings. Evelyn is truly unusual. She is infinitely kind to all creatures, always trying to fix everything. The girl is very similar to Celestia in this. It's not just that the man simply wants to protect the little child and make sure that she never suffers. To do this, there are some things that need to be taken care of. The 1,000-year non-aggression pact between the Britium Imperial family and the North family. It's time to end the entanglements. Once Rastavan gets his act together and resolves the issue with the king, he will make a formal offer that is hard to refuse. They said that it would take at least 2 weeks to solve the problem with the carriage. So although she didn't promise anything, she would definitely be able to wait for Ray. It's not in the lady's nature to just sit and wait. She'll do everything she can before she leaves. She needs to make a list anyway. She's not comfortable leaving the city in this state. In the original, the Empire will soon be drawn into war. Raven will defend this city, but the better prepared for defense, the better time to start doing new business. The blonde explained to her friends that she was running a project to support war orphans, which could also help a city on the outskirts. Of course, the heroine cannot say what she should not say, that in a few years a war will begin, and it will be the children who will suffer the most from it. The lady explains that she earned more money than she expected, and she loves children. She wants everyone to be happy. Everyone should have their own protection. Evelyn was able to achieve everything, thanks to the people around her, who constantly supported her. It was Raven who helped her get rid of loneliness. Just the thought of this warmth made her want to do something. Sarah wants to know what the next steps will be. Even if the lady has a lot of money, it will be difficult for the child to do all this alone. Someone's help and support is needed. It turned out that everything was thought out. The maiden sent a letter to the temple so that it could be delivered directly to the saint. She should at least help a little. Saint Luciel, the priest, almost immediately sent a message that there were many wars going on in the world, and there would probably be a new one very soon. And in connection with this, there was something I would like to discuss with her. The message was sent by a girl named Belle. Many in the temple had also heard about her, or rather, about her famous brand, which is based on herbs. Popular products are sold to ordinary city workers and are cheap enough to be affordable for everyone. It would be nice to meet the heroine, at least once the answer came quite quickly. The girl is also determined to work quickly and harmoniously. Saint Luciel is the main character of the novel and has a great kind heart, but her life consists of the fact that she cannot go anywhere from the outside, so she lives for others and not for herself. Since the woman has answered, I would like to hope that it will be possible for her, that is to finally go out into the world. This is happiness. We need to act as soon as possible. The girl admits that she feels quite good about this. She just needs to continue exchanging such letters until the meeting finally takes place. Since the writing was soon finished, it was decided that perhaps they could have some tea on the table. The lady found a plant. Apparently Raven had brought it again as a gift. After that day, the boy brought herbs and elixirs several times, and as Luciel's letters accumulated, so did various medicines that were beneficial to health. The brunette most often brings something, and each time runs back for some reason. He thinks that he is obliged to do this. She does not understand what the situation is. Ray appears again. He is all wet, but apparently it is because of the rain outside. He holds out a bag with amorite inside. They say that if you eat it during adolescence, a person will become strong for life. The girl thought that the problem was in the weather, but no, the grass grows in the sea. The young man climbed into the cave underwater, only to get something for his girlfriend, or rather for her health. The next time they see each other, when the beauty is finally completely healthy, the young man holds out the ring. It is beautiful. He says that he just came across it on the way. Turning away, the lady thanks him. But in any case, she cannot accept the gift. He still insists it is a magic item in danger. You can rub it, and it will help. In that case, they will see each other again. But of course not tomorrow. The lady asks to stop. They haven't finished yet. But before she can start the topic, the guy runs out into the street. The girl smiles, looking at the ring. The funny thing is that the hero described all the details, despite the fact that he said that he himself did not buy it as a gift. Shang carefully checks his master's hand. He has been fitted with a prosthesis, and everything seems to be in perfect order. He can move perfectly without any problems. A few hours ago, a man left his hand on the Emperor's desk, saying that he wanted to make changes. In exchange for his blood, he needed to shorten the non-aggression pact to 5 years. Long ago, when the empire was called Sharia, the king and the first head of the North family signed a non-aggression pact. It sounds like a mutual benefit, but in reality, it is an unfair contract that tied the hands of the family where the descendants of the demon king were born. The only thing that can change anything is the blood of the head of the family. Bridium wants to object, but the man reminds of Celestia's death. There is no need to pretend that the reason is unknown. It was the Imperial family that broke the treaty first. They have the option to attack the rulers now, but North would like to look over what was written. At least once more, he needs to make sure of something. The blonde is forced to choose one thing, and gritting his teeth, he agrees to change the pact, in which case the brunette leaves. Now that this matter is finished, you can go to that girl. Having replaced his arm, the guy finally arrived in that city. Evelyn, hanging out the laundry, is surprised when she sees Rastavan in front of her. She definitely didn't expect this. In fact, the lady did not know how to react. She did not know why they came to her. The man seemed so familiar, but at the same time unfamiliar. The feelings were mixed. Explaining that he is Ray's father, he says that he came to pay for the care of his son. Their family will never forget this. She became his savior. Raven got home safely. That's what matters most. Now the girl was worried because she thought he'd only been looking for medicine all this time. Noticing the ring on her finger, North smiles. This thing belonged to the guy's mother, Celestia, once received it as a gift. Sitting down on one knee, the brunette asks to become his daughter. He wants to make the girl a part of their family so that she will no longer need anything. It will be better that way. The little girl doesn't know how to react to this. She has too many questions, but it doesn't seem like a joke. It's a bit unexpected because such a person makes an offer. He already said that the North family does not forget the saviors. Initially, when Raven told everything, he wanted to protect Evelyn as the person who saved them. But in such a situation, he won't be able to give much. It's best to just be together. The boy turns from a crow back into a human. He got another berry. No matter how much blood she vomits, the symptoms do not go away. He needs to bring this to Belle quickly. The father appeared behind him. He casually leaned against a tree. Obviously, the boy was about to go to that child again. Turning around, the young man noticed the prosthesis. The hero proudly replies that he changed the timing of the attack to 5 years. This means a lot to them. It will only get better. During this period of time, the loss of an arm will pay off tenfold. So there is no need to worry. Raven himself is not bad. He recently reached magic level number 6. The descendants of the North family only have 12 levels to reach the status of a demon. The stronger the person, the higher they rise in the end. Only one thing awaits everyone: becoming a monster, which everyone calls the Demon King. Many ancestors tried not to become monsters by improving their magical skills, but the young man himself has not yet figured it out. He knows that no one has ever succeeded, and everyone eventually died. The head of the clan is only at level 10, and his son at 13 years old is already at level 6. This will not end well. Lowering his head, the brunette assures that he is not afraid of what awaits him at the end of the path. He just doesn't want to lose his girlfriend. The man understands the feelings of the young man perfectly. Therefore, at that stage, he decides to adopt the child, making her part of his family. Their family will be able to protect Evelyn. The gears start turning in her head. Obviously, they will become brother and sister. How to react to this is unclear. Turning away, the golden-eyed one clarifies why use this particular method when there are many others. In any case, it was time for him to go to Belle. A few hours ago, after the proposal, the lady refused. She assured that she would go to El Casa, the city of flowers, and would live there quite happily without any problems. The girl was forced to do this because she did not want to destroy her perfectly constructed plan. It was something good. The brunette nods. He understood everything. The only thing that still interests me is whether the little girl wants him to treat her like a close uncle or whether they should pretend that they are almost strangers. They met for the first time, and he already cares about the blonde, as if she were his daughter. Raven probably told him something if she doesn't mind. For starters, Rastavan will become an ordinary acquaintance. The situation is extremely strange, but the head of the family is embarrassed, so this makes one want to smile. This is something special, completely unlike anything else. Of course, the lady agrees, without further ado. The young man nods. This development of events suits him perfectly at any moment. As soon as something happens, the girl can immediately make any requests. She also has a request. She would like to go to the forest, but it is dangerous to go there alone. The man, of course, will help. He will select the best escort. If anything else is needed, you can contact her at any time. There is a dark-colored ball on the table. The proposal of adoption was unexpected, but in fact, the lady is happy about it. With the help of the North family, she will receive the highest quality holy water. It seems that Raven should arrive soon. When he comes, I will have to say that the beauty saw her father. They really do look alike in some way. The woman starts coughing again. Today, for some reason, she felt worse, as if something strange was happening inside her body. Footsteps were heard behind her. The young man brought a pain reliever. It's amazing how far you had to go to get even one bush. They say it's more effective if you take it within 3 hours. Belle leans over the table. After a few seconds, she can no longer control herself and falls rapidly approaching the floor. Frightened, the brunette screams, asking what is happening. Opening her mouth, the lady tries to say something, but nothing comes out. A stream of scarlet liquid flows out her eyes, close, making her even more scared. It is not clear what comes next. She would say that she was perfectly fine, but that couldn't possibly be true. There were no signs of life now. Was not the time to sit back and calmly ponder what was happening. Opening her eyes, the blonde looks around, not understanding where she is. At all, she remembers very well that she vomited blood and lost consciousness. Then everything was like a fog. Raven runs to her. He asks worriedly if the beauty has gotten even a little better. So far, the improvements are not too noticeable. Unfortunately, this is exactly the case. The hero must have been very scared to see his friend in a terrible state. He would like to erase the memories, just so he wouldn't have to think about anything else. It looks like they are in a mansion belonging to the North family. The man asks again and again. It seems he no longer believes a single word, that everything is okay. He needs proof, and it will probably always be like this. Sean said that the baby was sick with crad. The feeling of lightness was probably a temporary symptom after vomiting blood, although it seemed that it would get better. The boy is too scared. That is why I didn't want him to see the beauty's attacks. I need to explain everything, otherwise he won't understand what's going on and will feel even worse. The fact that the lady feels so bad about her body is a step towards recovery. Bard is a medicine that helps with Crad's disease, so she has been looking for the herb all this time. Even now, the hero has completely misunderstood everything. He is angry that his friend is coping with everything alone. At the moment, there is definitely no evidence that this can be used to cure, so she kept it a secret. It was impossible to describe what was happening in the novel. Belle wants to say something else, but she is suddenly hugged. There is no point in saying anything more. She needs to try to get better as soon as possible. At the end of the treatment, Evelyn will lose her voice. You need to leave before the last stage begins. Smiling, the heroine thanks. With the help of hugs, she seemed to feel a little better. After they talked, Ray gave him a tour of the mansion, trying to show him as many interesting places as possible, and asked about his thoughts on his house. Everything is too colorful, but this is even a plus. It is done with taste and elegance. It is good that the handsome man took the time and showed every detail, even what was not important. First, it's worth eating. They just moved to the dining room. This is a sign the beauty is probably hungry. They sit her down at the table. A pleasant maid appeared nearby, who wishes the mistress a bon appétit. There are quite a lot of people with an unusual appearance here. This is what catches the eye first. It's possible that there are many different races living in the mansion, because this mansion belongs to the Demon King, although I wonder why she looks so sad. After half an hour, the meal was over. It had been a long time since I had eaten warm food. All this time, the lady did not remember about Bard and did not accept him. This makes you wonder what will happen next. The girl understands that it is really time for her to go, but three maids appear behind her. One asks to try on a dress, another to eat dessert. Each has their own suggestions. There are dresses for going to a ball, and casual ones too. There is everything that will suit your taste. Evelyn wants to have a beautiful hairstyle so that everything matches. In the end, the girl could not refuse saying that it was time for her to leave. She felt too sorry for those who had gathered around her to help. It seems that they don't want to let the heroine go because everyone thinks that she has an incurable disease. It seems that they will let her go in a couple of days when they see that her condition has improved. In that case, you have to go with the flow. There's nothing you can do. Since Evelyn has gone this far, you have to do what you have to. Rastavan promised to go to the Forest of Shadows together. It's time to take advantage of the opportunity. North enters the room. He says hello from the doorway. Now they can talk about what the beauty needed. She does not forget to mention that she felt a little better. Of course, Evelyn went to ask about the Forest of Shadows that she mentioned a little earlier. She needs to go there in the near future. I hope that this is possible. Uncle also thought about it. He came to the conclusion that they should go together. It would be much calmer in that place. You need to be careful not only of monsters, but also of the air. You also need to be careful with people. The lady feels that she didn't quite understand correctly, so she immediately asks again. It's important for her to know why people are being dragged into this. It seems the lady doesn't need to know about this. The emperor started to connect his army while she was sleeping. They don't have a very good relationship with the Imperial family, which is why Raven ended up in a city on the outskirts. The assistant and the king try to find the city where the man used to live in order to put pressure on the family. The situation is more complicated than it seemed. The girl must understand that such a danger would make anyone run. She asks to accompany her. The next morning, everyone was ready, but a brunette appeared who was going to go with her. He heard it yesterday evening, the news about the forest. Rastavan appeared behind her. Of course, the boy assures that he is the only one who can go with her. Uncle is already ready, but the forest is dangerous, so he will definitely carry her in his arms. Everything will be fine. He makes fun of his son on purpose, and he is clearly hurt, looking at him with a sweet look, and he almost begs him to go with him. The baby freezes. You can't be so charming. She offers Rastavan to go together. It seems like such an opportunity comes along very rarely, so at least they can have some fun. The boy remembers going on a picnic with him, but the child doesn't know that he was dressed as the dog Charming. The Forest of Shadows is bright even at night, and even the air contains powerful demonic energy, so staying there for a long time can be fatal. There was some kind of magic around that North used. The blonde began to breathe much easier, which she did not expect. One fact has always bothered her. She never found out why the head of the family has a prosthetic arm, and that is exactly what she is asking. Smiling completely carefree, the man assures that he lost his hand somewhere. It happened completely by accident. This is all because he cannot tell the whole truth. It is better not to ask about it if he wants to. He will tell it himself. The little girl searches the forest for first-class holy water, which she saw with the help of a relic. According to the potion map, they should head forward, so they will soon reach their destination. Ahead, you can see a large snow-white tree, near which there is a whole pack of wolves. Brunette asks if this is the right place. It is a dangerous area that only Norths go to. Then they have to climb up. The information is updated as soon as they get closer to the map. Snow wolves are also monsters that move in groups through the forest, animals that protect the tree of the moon. They, of course, guard the treasures of the forest, and one of them is the highest quality holy water that the beauty is looking for. Initially, everything looks peaceful and innocent. but for a long time people were sick and died, precisely because of the energy of the forest. It won't be difficult to deal with the monsters, since the little girl with her uncle and Raven will go ahead with Evelyn to resolve the matter peacefully. There is a strange feeling inside the living. Feel the energy of the dead making a wish to live. To the moon tree is useless. The wolf decides not to worry about mortal people. If a small person ends up in the grave, nothing will change. The brunette bends down. He realized that the beauty is allowed to pass. She doesn't need to worry about anything, just follow forward. The Forest of Shadows is under the control of the North family. They must be familiar with the wolves here. This is a logical explanation for the situation. Stepping forward, the woman bows her head, asking to be called simply Belle. She is about to tell what brought her here. The beauty needs a favor. She asks to let her see the moon tree. It is needed for holy water, but this will be mentioned a little later in the conversation. If she wants to make a wish and ask for recovery, then alas, there is no point in this. She shakes her head. Everything is wrong. She would like to see him up close. The woman heard that the tree is truly wonderful. She also wants to see the herbs that grow in this area. It's hard to believe. Before this, countless people tried to get to the tree, but no one returned alive in the end. All those who wanted to disappeared. It seems that the baby's eyes do not lie. She seems to be in love. Belle is given permission. She can pick the grass only if she does not harm the tree. Ray helps to climb up, giving his hand. It turned out that getting consent is relatively simple. Not everything is so bad. As the beauty thought, there are plenty of herbs here, even ingredients for holy water. Someone's voice is heard. A wolf cub is sitting to the side. The baby does not understand why the person is picking growing plants as if he is going to eat them. The baby limps on one leg. Evelyn explains that with herbs, you can make medicine. In fact, she knows how to make something for treatment. If the lady does something wrong, Rastavan will only make it worse, but this will not happen. The girl wants to try to help. The paw will soon stop hurting. The girl looks at the herbs, deciding what to add to the decoction first. There is no cure for wolves. Some combination will be more than enough. No one came up with the idea to cure monsters, unfortunately. Finally, the potion in the jar was finished. The girl asked to give him his paw to begin the treatment. He obediently held it out. The old man standing to the side notices what is happening. He is ready to get angry, but Rastavan stops him. Evelyn needs to trust. Within a second, the wolf cub realized with surprise that he did not feel pain. He could calmly run and jump, remaining carefree. Ray grabs the fluffy one. If he feels better, it's time to go on his way. The person standing on the sidelines cannot believe what just happened. His child can jump again, laughing happily. People make various medicines using various herbs. The heroine will definitely give a recipe so that the man can treat his pack. Thus, the beauty became a benefactor. She accepted only what she came for initially, but no more rewards. The baby needed holy water of the highest quality. Without it, she would have surely died long ago. All the same, as a gift, the beauty can later express her desire. This will not be a problem. In order not to argue further, the heroine waves her hand. She will definitely think about the proposal. The wolf cub wanted to take Belle along, but in return, he asks that she be able to hug him again, and his father allowed him to. The pack sees off the main character. They have hope that her future will be favorable to her. That's how it should be. The babies are all beautiful white fur and dark eyes. They are also cute, as long as no one touches their tree. All this reminded me of Charming. I want to think that everything is fine with him. The lady remembers that without saying anything to Sarah and Jack, she simply disappeared. There is no need to go back. Two people run towards each other, running away from the spiders and screaming wildly. They entered the forest without any problems, but unfortunately, they ended up meeting monsters. They should have acted a little smarter. The guys came to Belle's house a few days ago. She said that she wanted to send a letter to the saint and disappeared. The door was open. Usually, everything is always closed, but this means that something not very good happened. When I walked inside, the first thing I noticed was a huge pool of blood on the floor, which was terrifying. They called in Jed, who determined that it definitely came from a person, reminiscent of the moment when the girl vomited. Raven needs to know where his friend went. He would never leave her alone. It's alien to him. The boy is the son of the head of the North family and taught children fencing. Perhaps the girl was even kidnapped by slave traders. Be that as it may, it is strange that recently, people from the king's army have started to drop in frequently. If she has some kind of connection with demons, the situation could be dangerous. Jed tries to stay calm, hoping that someone knows a priest from the temple. This will help start the search. It turned out that Belle knew the saint and even called her her mentor. This had to be mentioned right away because it was incredibly important. In Sarah's hands were some papers, the letters they had exchanged. After reading a few pages, it became clear that the two were exchanging some trivialities. Zale comes to mind. He seems influential. He is obliged to help. The old man is leaving. It is better not to tell anyone anything. So the two of them went to Belle's house every day to check if she had returned by accident, but it was all in vain. A crystal ball was found on the table, and a voice was heard from within, speaking of a forest of shadows. It sounds like how Evelyn usually talks. The sound doesn't carry well, but it's still understandable. A howl is heard, which Jack knows very well. They say that monsters live in that place. Someone took a beauty there. All that remains is to wait, but the brunette does not agree. It may be too late, and the girl will simply die, left alone. It's not worth going there either. It's too dangerous to go that far. They learn fencing for that, but again, it might not help. It's scary to think what's next. Belle helped them a lot, despite their attitude towards her. Now she is in danger and needs at least someone to take care of her. There is no other way. Now the duo is running from the monsters, screaming as loudly as possible. It seems that this is all thanks to the communication device that Rastavan gave them. Whatever the case, Ray is going to deal with the monsters so that they don't fall into his hands again. As soon as everything is over, the heroes begin to cry. Sincerely, all uninvited guests must leave the forest, and that is where they will probably start. Already at home, the blonde almost breaks down when she screams. It is clear that they wanted to save her, but in the process, they themselves almost died. Sarah objects. They were just very scared. They saw blood on the living room floor, but there was no one in the house. It was time to explain what really happened. It turned out that Ray came to the rescue when the girl became ill. Diva couldn't contact the guys in any way because she was unconscious for a whole week. Nothing changed. Now, fortunately, everything is fine. The heroine went into the forest with her uncle and Ray. It was not so dangerous because when you are not alone, everything becomes easier. Bowing her head, the blonde asks for forgiveness for making her worry. Next time there is no need to do that. Everything seemed to have calmed down, but suddenly, Sarah remembers how thinking that her friend was in danger. She wrote letters to some people. Lucielle was the first to receive news. She realized that she had not received letters from Belle because something had happened to her. Initially, the two communicated only on important topics, but eventually moved on to different things, since the saint did not see life outside the temple. Evelyn taught her a lot. Initially, the lady earned her living by collecting medicinal herbs. Work in the small town was quite difficult. The girl invited her friend to their city so that they could look at the starry sky and more together. Even though they have never met, the fact remains that Belle is a treasured friend. As the blonde said, you can't stay locked up your whole life. So at night, the blue-eyed girl got out intending to find her friend. Arriving at a hut near the forest, the woman knocked, but no one opened the door, which was strange, since the address seemed to be correct. There, she met a tall young man, who immediately asked with whom she had the honor of speaking, and why she had come to Belle. Zale told that he had a difficult situation. The girl had disappeared, and friends had sent a letter. It turned out that the same thing had happened to Lucielle. Lockart did not expect to meet the saint. He had heard that the temple cared so much for her that it did not allow her to leave. The future chancellor seemed to understand his acquaintance's amazing ability to attract a variety of people. They both came to the meeting, but what to do next and where to go is completely unclear. It's like a secret. The man understands the situation. He has an idea of where Evelyn might be. Now he even knows who is to blame for the situation. Rostovan talks to his son. Ray must have already heard the voices of the monsters he killed in the forest. Although the Forest of Shadows is an unusual and scary place, many people gather there. The monsters must have been the king's plan. It is unclear who exactly is involved in installing the attraction devices, but it is likely that Bridium is aware of Belle's existence. In that case, it's time to have some fun, and at the same time find out more information. There's not much time left before the end of the contract. There was a knock on the door of the room. Kevin, the personal butler, carefully entered, turning to Rostovan. The young master Lockart and the saint want to meet the man. They personally want to make sure of their friend's safety. The brunette laughs. Everything is much more fun than it seems. The son must also decide what to do next. Strange people have no right to stick to a girl. They need to be cleansed. But the attitude will depend on something else. The two were allowed into the room. Raven sits down on the couch. He is still unclear how much they care about Belle. A man would never allow a beauty to be kidnapped unless he did it himself. Zale is smart. Lucille reminds that they have already said the reason for their visit, and that remains the case. They need to know where the beauty is. Unfortunately, the guy doesn't trust any of those gathered. The blonde frowns. He should have declined the request for a visit. It would have been more logical. The future head of the family is still not as simple as he seems. It seemed to him that Belle trusts them, which is why he asks how close they are to her. They were still let through. It was easier that way. Evelyn jumps for joy when she sees her friends. She never expected this. Everything turned out to be okay with Lucille, and it seems that nothing is bothering Zale either, all thanks to the savior. The brunette is obviously angry. Lockart, in his opinion, looks fine. There is no need to worry. As expected from the main character, she is like an angel, pure and incredibly beautiful, which attracts attention. The baby is smiling. She is glad to meet you. She has never been out before. The road must have been difficult. Shaking her head, the woman promises that everything is fine. Thanks to her friend, she found the desire to leave the temple. There was no thought that everything would turn out this way. The beauty constantly wants to tell how happy she is. According to the book, these three were supposed to meet at least 5 years later, but they all got together because of a friend. While the lady was thinking about how she had ruined the whole plot, Raven appeared nearby. The guests can leave. They still have their own things to do. Since they refused, the guy orders them to sit and not do anything. Leaving the blonde assures that everything is fine. It's better to rest. Going outside, the heroine asks about Jack and Sarah. They try to contact the family and the residents of the city. While they have time, the man takes the beauty to the potion room, where there are many different jars around. This place now belongs to Belle. She likes to create various medicines, so Raven even took care of that. The boy's gaze makes you freeze. He looks too cute. And again, the same feeling inside. It hasn't gone away. Nodding the blonde. Thanks, she will have to leave soon. But the gift is too valuable. It was nice. The room may be used by other people, so when something is needed, the lady will be able to say so calmly. Virgo suggests leaving this place to the teacher. She doesn't think that she will be able to stay for long. You can tell from Ray that he doesn't want the beauty to leave, which is not something that is easy to accept. Now the maiden must try to do something. She had a lot to do, so for the time being, she could not get to it. You need to add several ingredients to the water. Close the jar with a lid, and wait. The final ingredient is blood. The potion chart stated that with the help of this potion, the girl could be cured of the disease she suffered from. The boy had never heard of such a thing, and not allowing his finger to be cut, he promises that he will check with the doctor first. The blonde nods, hoping that her friend hasn't imagined anything too much. Belle suddenly feels worse. It feels like someone is squeezing her throat, which makes her incredibly uncomfortable. No one had heard of a potion made from blood, neither the saint nor Xuan. This is something new. Only once did Zane see an old recording. It was in a book in the Imperial palace, and the potion caused death without pain, as if falling asleep. The disease my friend suffers from is called crad, and as far as I know, it is long and painful. The man can't stop thinking he has too many doubts. Only one thing is clear. For the sake of the girl, he will do anything. If the heroine does not want to stay with him, he will send her wherever her soul desires, so that it is safe. He turns to the guests with a request that in 2 weeks, when they return to the house, the people must be detained in the specified place. The blonde doesn't understand where the suffocation came from. Her voice is also not working well. It seems that Bard's treatment is reaching the next level. But still, something is wrong. When the original character started to lose his voice, the blood from his throat stopped, but with Belle on the contrary. She urgently needs to figure out what's going on. Otherwise, the situation will get worse. Master Jade arrived running out to meet him. The little girl smiles, but she is immediately told about concerns for her person. Jack and Sarah also suddenly disappeared, leaving the teacher with no choice but to sit there and worry. Obviously, the lady is feeling really bad. There would be no need to even ask. The blood is coming out again. The girl takes Jade straight to that very room with potions. He can't believe that there are so many herbs and different jars around. This is just paradise. It seemed that the owner was just a kidnapper, but it turned out that he knows a lot about this place. There were other ingredients in the warehouse, and something was stuck on top. It seemed like a note from someone else. Various notes from Rastavan were hidden everywhere, each one sweeter than the other. The man asked her again and again to become his daughter, although before that, he had apparently already heard a full-fledged refusal. This is looking more and more like a joke. The girl remembered that she has questions, so she is going to ask them in person. In the end, the beauty went to a personal meeting. She needed a place where she could look through many books. The blonde needs to go to the library to read something important, and at the same time, check how Sarah and Jack's training is going. The stealth flows differently than in the original. If everything in the North Library is ancient, useful materials may be found. Before leaving immediately after receiving permission, the beauty placed the answers to all the notes from the room on the table. At dinner, a heart-shaped cake is placed in front of Lockart, in which Belle is once again asked to become part of the family. The letters are written in chocolate, but nothing is clear at all. The servant wants to cry because he made a mistake in serving food to another person. The gentleman was not happy about this. The dinner was a little awkward just because of what happened. In the evening, the lady went to the library. With so much material, it would all drag on. Evelyn starts coughing. She can't hold back and go back either because her body doesn't obey. Raven bursts into the room. For some reason, my friend always shows up on time. It's a shame that I have to see her in this state every time. The girl was sent to bed. Luciel tries to help with divine power, but it's all useless. Zale reminds about the disease. No matter how much force you use, it will not help. The girl can't talk. Crad doesn't have such symptoms. It's probably not connected to anything. Someone could have poisoned her. Too many questions recently. The North clan was poisoned by the Emperor's people. And then there were monsters in the forest sent by him. They found out about Belle and decided to get rid of her. The installed protection did not work, although there was hope. Raven will go to the castle immediately. He will show them what will happen next. Diva herself did not know that she would become a target. In addition to her connection with the Norths, she had a business that was starting to develop. Someone like Ray won't need any preparation. Everyone else stays close by and protects the beauty. The boy's father was also angry. He understood that Bridium was involved in everything, but his son explained that they had a road ahead of them. Then everything would become clear. The next morning, the lady finally woke up, and Sarah was the first to come running to check on her health. Having lost consciousness in the library, she didn't think that everything would end like this, and her voice also doesn't return normally. Overall, the lady admits that she feels better than before. The treatment is going in a different direction, but she is still recovering. The beauty lay there for so long that she even got hungry. She quietly asked for someone to bring her some soup. Asking for a pen, the lady realizes that she hears her own voice. It would be good if this were truly a temporary phenomenon. Then a variety of questions follow. It turns out that the dream lasted a long time, but during this time nothing happened. The brunette promises that the cook will prepare soup for now. He can rest a little. The illness still hasn't gone away. Ray walked around suspiciously pleased. All this time, the children told him that they had recently heard news about the palace. The underground warehouse, with hundreds of rooms, was destroyed. The laboratory also burned down. They say that poisons were studied there. It is not difficult to guess whose handiwork this was. Bridium listens to the news that the criminal was never found. Someone deliberately left a magical trace, but not everyone will notice it. Rastavan, as usual, distinguished himself. Now the man orders to call the second prince. There is somewhere to send him. The boy was brought in. He timidly asks what his father wants to receive. Again, the wishes are somehow too vague. His Majesty recently sent envoys to the North's house, but they all perished without leaving any traces behind. It's time to use the kid. He sends the guy to that place as a messenger to find out what happened. Everyone was worried about Belle. It was good that it was temporary. Even the loss of her voice was not such a big problem. The saint can stay nearby at least for some time. Having agreed everything with the priests, she promised that she will return soon. Even the chancellor doesn't suspect anything because his son said that he would be working in a distant village on some project. Right now, Zale has an urgent call to the Imperial palace. He will return soon. The young man steps forward. He brought the books that his friend had spoken about not long ago. All the publications were about half-breeds. The girl wanted to start studying, but then the blonde man returned. The junior head needed to be told something. The emperor sent the second prince as an envoy to the North House. The journey from the castle will not take long. Sarah is more worried than the others. She does not understand what the king's motive is. It cannot be connected with anything. Raven doesn't know either, but there's no need to worry too much. They'll turn the house into a prison. Let them just try to do something about it. It seems that something important is about to happen. Opening the door, the servant sees a boy there, who, barely holding back tears, introduces himself. In the original, there was little information about Orc, but his character was different. Even in the book, he was sent to the North's house as a messenger of friendship, but ended up dying. The emperor kept the baby in a closed estate and called him a monster because his mother was of mixed blood. Beastman, elf, and human. The character standing on the floor is truly unusual, I must admit. The head of the house is absent, so Ray comes forward. The emperor sent to find out about those people in the forest. That's all. His Highness is afraid of everything, so Evelyn's warm gaze comes into play, and she extends her hand. The baby is incredibly cute. A guest room has already been prepared for him. All he needs to do is go along with the host. Orca, although small, is still a member of the royal family. It is unclear what he is up to, which means he cannot be trusted. The baby wants to cry from the look of the future ruler of the North family. The girl hugs him carefully, promising that no one will harm him here. Half an hour later, the child fell asleep. It is better to postpone the conversation until the next day. His ears and tail appeared. It seems that the tension has eased. Mixed blood children's appearance depends on their emotions. The blonde heads to the library. As soon as the younger prince wakes up, she will definitely be called, but otherwise, she has classes. Evelyn's characteristics don't quite match what is written in the books about half-breed elves, which makes it more difficult. Perhaps there is another race in the heroine's blood. Her appearance is so unusual that it is rare to find even on the entire continent. The girl was distracted from her studies. The prince, as it turned out, still hadn't woken up. The servants were looking after him. The guy has long wanted to ask where this is leading to. Books about different races made him ask questions. It seems that Belle is a half-blood. It is quite possible. But if so, something doesn't add up. Never before had the maiden had abilities, considering that even the servants of the North House were like that. When she thought about it, she remembered that a person could have mixed blood from 3 different races. This is only possible if the others are too strong, because the blood must not only prevail over the human, but also exist with the other non-human. Such a character will have an unusual appearance, but his abilities will not manifest. The forces of different races will clash with each other every time. If harmony can be achieved between them, then the abilities will become powerful or extremely unusual. Belle needs more books. The more there are, the easier it will be to get important information. The man went to Zale. She can help her friend by giving a pass to the temple library. 2 days passed. The girl constantly looked after that same wolf cub, and the prince too, trying to entertain them as much as possible. A friend brought new books, the bindings of which seemed unfamiliar, and the young man took them from the monastery, promising that if anything is needed, he will definitely bring it. The young man reasons, as if the temple library is an accessible place. When there are many different books, this is also a problem. You can easily get confused by their number. Evelyn's features, as far as the boy could see, were most similar to those of wind spirits. In the original, there were many half-breeds, such as Zale, and even a prince who is half animal. The pages depict a werewolf named Kim San, who could change parts of his body at will, calling himself the Korean Sanshin. There is not this country, but the very place from which the author herself came, as if he were from the same time as she. The werewolf is not a new race, but something left over from ancient times. Belle seems to hear about moving between worlds. For the first time it happens. One of the first descendants of the North family was also not born in this world. He came through a portal. Few people know about this because the information is kept strictly secret, but this really does exist in history. Belle needs more details. Stopping even closer, Ray asks not to rush so much. Everything has its time. The werewolf became the last guardian of the Holy Grail, replacing the Demon King, but they disappeared. The trail was found on the border with Elkas. In an unexpected place, it was possible to find a clue to the state, which looked like a tangled thread. The king was informed of all the information about Evelyn. She is quite unusual. Of course, this is typical for people with such a mystical appearance. One cannot help but remember the one the beauty resembles, namely Celestia. This person was just as strong. Even she didn't know about her enormous abilities. If Bridium knew that her death would lead to such consequences, he would never have committed murder. The intervals when the voice disappears are becoming shorter and shorter. Thanks to books, I was able to find some clues. Belle is distracted by a friend who realizes that she is lost in thought again, and she appears confused from the start. In fact, the beauty wants to confess something. Of course, there is no need to reveal your secrets, but there is something else. The heroine thought for a long time and decided that perhaps it was time to go on a journey. Sarah assumes that they will all go together, but hopes are dashed. This time the woman will go completely alone. Friends vied with each other to explain that it is too dangerous. The heroine is still in poor health, and she could get worse. Evelyn suspected that this was the reaction she would get, so she was no longer surprised by anything. It had not been mentioned before that she had a potion map. There is information about Krada. The herb from which the medicine is made grows only in Aigar. It would be nice to go there. The man silently remembers the very potion that Zale mentioned. There isn't much time left to do anything. Belle, smiling, assures that it really is easy to go on a trip. It couldn't be any other way. 1 month to collect all the information and recover will clearly not be enough. Lockart understood everything from the look. Unfortunately, this would drag on. Only God knew for how long. There is no need to worry. This is the beauty's long-standing dream. She promises that she will definitely write constantly. The brunette asks him to promise that the girl will return. He cannot afford to lose someone he cares about so much. Ray doesn't really want to let her friend go, but now that the Emperor is hunting her, it might be better if she leaves. There is a way to protect Belle when she is far away. The ring still sparkles on the finger when the beauty smiles gratefully. Having gone to Rastavan, the son reported about the journey and that he had allowed his friend to leave. The second prince is still under protection in the mansion. The Norths don't know what to do with him next, but he doesn't want to leave. The boy is just a pawn that the emperor has already abandoned. He is probably waiting impatiently for his son to die. It is impossible to play along with the plan. The baby will remain with them. For now, the leader himself will not return. Soon he needs to complete all his business and then look into aigar. The next day, the king went down to the library in anger. All the books in the palace had been plundered, not a single one remained. No one saw the intruder again, but one of the guards met a black dog just in the corridor nearby. Rostovan has his own motive. But here's what it is. He took not just a few books, but everything that was there. It seems that the search for the Holy Grail is underway. The man begins to laugh maniacally, sending a messenger to the Kingdom of Rome. That place is also the homeland of the Queen in normal times. Before the messenger could deliver the message, he would be eliminated, let alone make an alliance. The fact that the kingdom and the empire have joined forces is something that even Rostovan may not be able to predict. The times of chaos are near. At the same time, the leader arrived at Aigar's castle. This place was built on the mixture of different races, has many unique half-breeds. The most unusual one is Hamel the ruler. He has no human blood in him, and honestly, he strongly resembles Evelyn. The young man thought about it, but quickly came to his senses. He had come to propose an alliance, but the king was not interested in that. This is about Celestia. There is no need to be so wary. It is better to talk somewhere else. The girl was a recognized archaeologist, not only among the North family, but also among everyone who worked with her. Celestia knew a lot, kept a lot of secrets, all because she had the ability to talk to the dead. Now it becomes clear why her research reached such an outstanding level. Rostovan still has results and records that were not made public. The man is ready to offer papers in exchange for cooperation. Hamel accepts them, no matter what is written on them. The young man has a daughter who is sick with crad. She wants to see the world for the last time and go to aigar. She needs to be protected and helped find a cure. The gentleman told the girl that he would not be able to see her off personally. Unfortunately, he had his own business. The blonde refused a companion in advance. She prefers to go alone. The man offers the same thing again. It turns out that he is talking about that dog named Sundal. He loves his owner very much. The girl realized that this would not be a problem, especially if she reduced its size. Nodding, the brunette wishes her a safe journey. The conversation is over. It's time to go. Belle thanks that her friends came to her just to say goodbye. The woman talks to the prince and Sarah, telling her what she will do next. It is no longer possible to remain silent. Ray steps forward. Bridium is hunting for Evelyn, so you need to leave as quietly as possible. Perhaps the entire continent will soon be plunged into war. The words instantly disappeared somewhere. Raven cares about her friend, so she sends her far away. The most important thing is to continue wearing the communication device. The girl promises that she will never lose it. They put a bow on his hand. This is additional, so that the facial features are blurred, so that people don't remember anything. If danger is imminent, all you need to do is say the words Raha Denatort, and North spies will come to your aid. The phrase is engraved on the family crest. The brunette looks into the eyes, sincerely asking not to forget. Waving goodbye, Evelyn hopes that her friends will be okay too. As the carriage drives off down the street, Belle left. It was time for the guests to return to their place. In the name of their friend, they would follow their plan. Nail, sitting in the room, is surprised when his son comes in to see him. He doesn't remember being called in for a conversation. The magic that restrained Lockart was destroyed, and now there was no place on Earth more valuable than the North Library, where the boy spent several days. The saint also returned back, meeting the priests. She wants to start a conversation about what she wrote in the letter. We managed to find out who violated the non-aggression pact and colluded with the king, the high priest Marcus. He must be eliminated. The girl got off at the side of the road, and the carriage provided by the North family took her straight to the border between the Empire and the Kingdom of Rome. Showing real citizenship to pass is too dangerous. Rostovan made a fake one. They let the beauty through. Although they said that the emperor had placed his men there, they were looking for Evelyn too openly. Well, ended up in my hands. He's usually very cute, but in this state, he seems even better. You can't find anyone like him. The little wolf cub was given exactly this name. At first, the lady doubted whether to take him, but in the end, she decided to. The border of the Kingdom of Rome was successfully crossed, which means that continuing at the same pace, they will reach Elkas, and from there to Aigar. The worry that the journey would be difficult dissipated. Sometimes the lady rented a carriage, and at other times, she simply walked. Despite all the pleasant moments, Evelyn met some scoundrels who asked her to give them her bag. Deciding that it would be easier to call in mercenaries, the lady says those very words while watching what happens. The young lady is fine and asks for forgiveness for calling the knights. So often she does not understand how they hear so quickly every time. Although the girl is indebted to them, this is still enemy territory. It is too risky to openly call out spies like that. The carriage stopped. The beauty does not understand what happened. She just calmly asks, "Well, to hide," until it becomes clear what is happening. There are several hooded men ahead. It seems like there are too many of them to catch one child. The emperor attracted the men himself, not understanding what the point was. Magic unfolds in the palms. Evelyn is given an ultimatum: she must surrender, or she will be killed in this case. One of the men licks his lips. The smell of this blood is wonderful. He does everything to get it. His Majesty ordered the girl to be delivered safe and sound. The woman wanted to jump back, but nothing worked. She already thought that this was the end. But Well came forward, deploying protective magic. While hiding, on the other hand, the maiden thinks about what to do next. It is useless to hide any longer. It will only get worse. This is the hostile Kingdom of Rome. The king's messengers secretly crossed the border to pursue the girl. Perhaps it would be worth calling Ray. When they said goodbye, his look was full of anxiety. He said that he would not be able to accompany her because the emperor was watching his every step. Those people are definitely connected to Bridium. The question of how the royal assassins were able to pursue them all the way to the border still remains in my head. The reality dawns that the emperor may have teamed up with Rom to capture Evelyn. If this is true, the girl becomes the weak link of the North family. Once she is in their hands, she will become the only vulnerability and take the role of a prisoner. Just as the blonde was about to call out, using the bracelet, the mercenaries blew up the carriage, throwing a stone at her head and causing her to fall to the ground. Belle instantly shrank back down to hide inside his clothes, and the blonde couldn't really see anything because of the blood on her face. The girl can no longer resist. The man does not see any abilities, but just in case they decide to check, taking out a syringe with liquid. The Knights of North are already finished. They are killed. If anyone else is found, they will also be killed. Now it is time to go back. It became dark around. It seems that this is the barrier, magic in all its glory. The girl disappeared. A second later, someone killed almost the entire squad. A few hours ago, Ray and Rastavan were informed that strange activity had been noticed in Roma. It seemed that someone was being followed. Some of the spies had disappeared. All this strongly indicates that the kingdom is cooperating with those who are abroad. If only the young man had heard about this earlier, he would never have allowed the girl to go anywhere. A signal came. That very bracelet was activated. The hero went to Belle. He needs to make her okay. It seems like he's too late. Blood is pouring down her face, and her eyes are closed. The man was sure that such precautions would be enough to protect the beauty, but he failed. I want to scream, but suddenly I hear a quiet sound. My heart is beating, albeit very weakly. Hugging the baby, the brunette exhales. Having almost become a demon, the hero understands that it is time for him to calm down. His father said that Aigar promised to protect Belle. He can only rely on this. Magic will leave traces. You will have to use an ancient martial art called lightness, flying between the clouds as if they weighed nothing. After a while, the duo found themselves in front of the entrance to the palace. The young man had tried hard to remain unnoticed, but it seemed he had overdone it. Now he was feeling bad. The most important thing was that Belle would be okay. Hemel is standing at the entrance. Rastavan North has already announced that his son will soon arrive with his daughter. The young man remains silent, but then says that his niece obviously decided to take a little nap since she is in the young man's arms. He explains that the girl has lost consciousness and is begging for help. First, they will have to go inside, then they will figure everything out. Opening her eyes, the blonde looks around. She smells antiseptic, but does not remember how she got to the medical department. A painfully familiar voice is heard. The brother from a past life smiles. The lady finally woke up. He was waiting for her very much and hoped that they would meet soon. It always seemed that only he and Hen were left in this world. The parents were there, but after their divorce, they stopped paying attention to the kids. Taking care of her brother, taking care of him, and buying medicine became the brunette's direct responsibility. No matter how much she wanted it, she had no choice. The moments when they wrote and laughed together in the hospital room remained infinitely precious. The dream is based on memories. It seems that the blonde has finally calmed down. Hen has already said that there is no need to endure. This also applies to her new world. There is no need to constantly endure everything that befalls you. If a lady says that she is hurt because she ended up in a book, those around her will accept this fact. This time the lady could have really died. Dumbness is the beginning of the end, and yet the girl tried to leave calmly. She wanted to run away from fear. The young man speaks as if he has full information about what is happening. It seems like a dream, but the person sitting in front of her is real, as strange as it may sound. Hen knew that the girl wouldn't believe it. Now they could only meet in this way. A rare disease was caused by this. In order to become God in this world, one must first be born as a human being. In short, quite recently, the young man began to realize his divine state. Now he is a ruler. The sudden news is confusing. A chain of logical events comes together, pointing to something new. It takes more time to think it all over, but the young man will not stay there for long. Too much time passes in the real world for that. Evelyn doesn't want to bother anyone, but that's no reason to hide and conceal her true feelings. The brother is right. The heroine was afraid to get used to the warmth that was given to her, and therefore she constantly hid. The end of the meeting comes, but this is not enough. I would like to say even more. They have not seen each other for a very long time. When you need help, it won't be a problem to contact the wolf cub. The brunette says goodbye with a soft smile. Opening her eyes, Belle meets North's eyes. He must have been very worried. She shouldn't have run away like that, leaving him alone. The beauty is not going to run away anymore. She finally understood how to behave and will not repeat her mistakes. Smiling, the little girl says that she missed him. Reaching out to hug Raven, finally able to be at peace. After all, the gentleman explains that they are in the royal palace of Aigar, and at Rastavan's request, his daughter will now be watched. Those who attacked the lady at the border merely gave her a sleeping pill. She woke up, and there was no need to worry anymore. There had been speculation before, but it seems the emperor really did form an alliance with the Kingdom of Rome. The situation turned out to be quite serious, but now on the castle grounds, the girl is safe. The brunette pauses for a minute and apologizes, which is not necessary. He says that even when he has done nothing wrong, Raven feels a sense of lack in everything in his thoughts. In his personal power, he was not even able to protect the girl as he wanted. The main character has to say that everything is okay because the friend himself couldn't cope with it. Everything is quite simple. The beauty once again assures that nothing will happen. Now in the end, she was saved, having done everything as it should be. In fact, she was scared inside. She was worried that because of her uncle and Ray would end up in a deplorable situation. Of course, she had a wolf cub with her, but the feeling of loneliness did not go away. And sincere gratitude to the young man was not long in coming. Leaning closer, the hero places his hand on his cheek, about to say something. Of course, the couple was interrupted. A servant came into the room to report the emperor's will. He wanted to see them. Himmel sits on a chair in the living room. He looks so pale, as if he were made of snow, and his eyes sparkle like jewels. For the first time, I had the chance to contemplate a person who looked so similar. Greeting His Majesty, the lady was about to sit down on the sofa. Frowning, the young man examines the body. Now that he sees the stranger in front of him, he has no doubts left. Virgo is Hemmel's niece. It seems that Ray understood everything right away, but this is the only case he has insight. It immediately became clear that Evelyn was a descendant of their family. The sister, Queen Aigara, gave birth to many children from different men. The news is too unexpected, so much so that it is difficult to comprehend. Now it is clear why the heroine was accepted into the kingdom without any questions. She was just lucky. The man just recently saw an interesting dream. It is part of his job to filter such things, doing everything in detail. At first, the young man decided to talk about the disease. The girl was coughing up blood, and therefore it immediately became clear that it was crad. He had to deal with this. Although in other cities, the disease is not often encountered, Evelyn has a non-standard variation. The voice remains. This is explained by the fact that Belle is a combination of 3 races, a kind of triple hybrid. It was not possible to find out too much. Hemmel looks surprised. Although this is not usually typical for him, the eternal mask of cold has fallen, and in front of him sits a child of miracles. The maiden inherited the power of the day, the power of the race of the night, and the third, perhaps most important power, of the people of the dawn. All this will not lead to anything good. If the greedy grail finds out about this, it will appear again. This is not just like that. The news is closely intertwined with reality. Originally, the cup was holy, possessing the power to purify souls and guide them into the light. But one day, a mad tyrant, having lost the treasure, used it to bring it back to life. The man sacrificed the souls of innocents in an attempt to recreate his love naturally. Nothing happened, but the grail acquired a sinister nature. The monster, in the form of an ornament, loves to absorb the souls of people, especially preferring those like Evelyn. They are different from others. Ray's mother, Celeste North, was exactly the same, had abilities. Hemmel discovered this secret by looking into her dreams. The soul is probably locked up because after death it was transferred. All this means that the young lady is in danger. There are only 2 miracle children left. The Grail senses such children. The situation is worse than it seems. Just like Bell, the second prince of the Breedium Empire Orca, since he is in the North House, there will be no problem. Thinking about all the information received, the lady chuckles. I want to hope that everything is okay with the baby. He does not deserve to feel bad. Hemmel decided to simply pass the information on to Rastavan. His niece should act as if she didn't exist. The only way out was to stay in the fortress. Surely everything is as it should be. There are people who care about her, and that is the most important thing. Now we can't take any more risks. In 10 days, the situation in the Empire changed. Zale managed to oust his father and seize power in the Lockart family. The minister went into exile. The saint returned to the temple. She tried to catch the minister Marcus, who had conspired with Bridium. Unfortunately, the king got ahead of them. When the priests prepared their forces for the attack, the man simply disappeared from his room. The remnants of magical energy indicated that there had been interference, and force had been used to carry the monk away. The blonde wants to say something else. Usually the Grail motivates human greed, and in front of her is Rastavan North himself. It seemed like the man was terrible, but if you remember how he cares for Belle, you can understand that he is just a very ordinary father. Marcus removed the seal from the relic and ran away with it. After hearing this, the brunette does not show greed. There is only disappointment in his voice. Probably the vessel for souls is already in the hands of Bridium. This, alas, will not lead to anything good. It is not clear how he is going to use it. In such a situation, Lucielle hopes for cooperation. Of course, they will help her on the eve of troubled times. This is especially relevant.